Howdy, howdy, everybody. See if we can get the TikTok guest thing lined up. About there, I think. Hope everybody's having a good day. I hope my audio's okay. Oh, I guess I can turn down the noise gate now. Well, just set that to default. There we go. All right, we should be good to go. Anyway, unfortunately, today I can only take guests from TikTok because I still haven't fixed the audio issues from on the YouTube link, so the thing is a little bit deceptive there. So if you want to join, you have to join through TikTok. That is the unfortunate consequence. Maybe I'll DM Justin and ask if he's busy today. Where is he? It's been that long since I DM'd him. I don't think. Oh, I guess it's been like a month. All right, well, I picked exactly the right length video to watch before the stream appears. Coincidence? Of course. No. Coincidence? I think not. Coincidence? Indeed, no. What's your take on 3i Atlas? It's a comet. Like, it's obviously a comet. Like, everybody knows it's a comet except one guy. I have to sneeze, but I can't sneeze. I absolutely did type words. I typed, hey, will you be busy after my live stream? I want to see if we can work out the problems with the audio. That's what I typed. Yes, indeed, therefore pixies. Suggestions for digging family members out of an anti-science rabbit hole. I actually, I would love to give an evidence-backed opinion. I'm just not familiar with, the research on this. I suspect there's, possibly one way, which is have the people who make the content that they watch, like the conspiracy content, the anti-science content that they watch, have them just, show them videos of the people that they respect looking dumb. Maybe that would work. Anyway, we have our first guest, so let's bring him on. Gabs, how's it going?
Hey, Dr. Blitz, nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Gabs, how old do you think the Earth is?
Well, Gabs doesn't really know, but according to the Bible, it's 6,000 years. But, that's just if you're gonna read the scripture and analyze it like any story,
Well, so you don't know?
No, I don't know. I would tell you if I knew how old the Earth is, but
okay.
I don't. Yes, sir.
So, in your view, it's not 4.5 billion years old. It's not 6,000 years old. You're just like, I don't know.
I think I don't know, and I think you don't know because I
mean, I definitely know.
Oh, okay.
Like it's roughly 4.5 billion years old.
Yeah.
I'm curious why you think it's not.
I don't know. I wouldn't bet my balls on it.
Okay, that's a weird statement to make. Would you bet your balls on the sun rising tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I think that it's roughly the same. But Gabs, there's a lot of background noise, and it doesn't seem like you actually have an opinion on this, so I'm gonna let you go. But thanks for being here. What a weird guy. What a weird guy. Tales from the Cut. Thank you for the clapping seal. I appreciate that. All right, let's bring up the Mark IV. The Mark IV, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing a-okay. The Mark IV, how old do you think the Earth is?
You know, I'm conflicted, man. The Bible says it's 6,000 years. You know, we can take samples of sediment and tell how old the Earth is scientifically, I think, with like radiocarbon dating. Um, but, you know, the book says it's 6,000 years, so I can't really reconcile that. You know, one interpretation is that we don't really know if 6,000 years means 6,000 human years. Other people take it literally. I just don't know. I'm kind of undecided right now.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, the book doesn't actually say 6,000 years anywhere, right?
Oh, okay.
What it does say is it says that, you know, there was Adam, and then Adam lived to this age, and then Adam's son lived to this age, and then Adam's son's son lived to this age, and then, you know, you have all these genealogies and how long people lived, and, you know, you eventually end up at David, and then you have that David's son lived to this age, and blah, 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 and eventually you end up at Jesus. And then, well, we know when Jesus was alive, and so that was roughly 2,000 years ago. So you just add up the ages, basically, of the other people before him up until you get to Adam, and you get about 6,000 years, depending on who you ask, depending on which genealogy you follow.
So if we take that to be true, I mean, is there any way we can say that these people lived to these ages, this amount of time passed, and this doesn't contradict what we can determine to be true scientifically? I mean, is there any way to reconcile that?
Not really. I mean, like, and keep in mind, it says that, like, Adam lived, what, 600 years or something? Like, that can't be reconciled scientifically.
Well, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, like if you want, like, maybe by years they meant months, and then it's like, oh, Adam lived to be like 65. Okay, then that would be like fine. But then that just makes the Earth younger, not older.
Yeah, so we're kind of, so, you know, I guess when people have these kind of debates, they're at a disadvantage. They're not interpreting anything scientifically, so they can't really have a meaningful debate when they can't establish facts. You know, that's kind of like the primary, that's where you want to start with these
And yet so many people still believe that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Yeah, I actually, you know, I'm not really I don't actually think the Earth was 6,000 years old. I just wanted to come up here and talk.
All right, well, get out of here. Thanks for being here, bud. All right, let's talk to Brett. Brett, how's it going?
Oh, man. Good. Hey, you just got rid of the last guy for probably the same reason you might want to get rid of me.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I'm not, but since you are a physicist and this whole Comet Eye Atlas thing is going on.
Nope, not doing that. Not the subject of today's debate. All right, so we did just start like 8 minutes ago or so let people flow in, and we'll get some more people in the live chat. So then we can get some more guests, because at the moment we have no guests in the guest box, and I would love to use the YouTube link, but it's just not working right now. All right, let's talk to Annie Jamaica. Annie Jamaica. Oh, so somebody said one day I'm going to fake being a moron just so I can talk to Blitz. Don't do that. That's a surefire way to get banned, right? I don't appreciate when people do that. I don't think it's funny. It's a waste of everybody's time. All right, Annie's not joining. Let's talk to American Facts. American Facts, how's it going?
It's going well. How about you?
I'm doing a-okay. American Facts, how old do you think the Earth is?
I don't have a specific number.
But like less than 10,000 years, more than 1 billion years? Like, what are we doing here?
I was going to ask you, do you think it's possible that the Vatican possibly made a mistake when writing that part of the
Writing
book?
what part?
Like the ages.
The Vatican didn't write the Bible.
Well, Jesus didn't.
So the Hebrew part of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, that was written by unknown authors long before Jesus existed.
The Vatican contains a lot of those.
And then the genealogies that are found in, I think it's like Luke and Matthew or something. Those were written by anonymous authors about maybe 50, 60 years after Jesus died. The Vatican didn't exist then.
I mean, the popes did, so.
So there were bishops, but there was no bishop of Rome. Well, okay, I guess there was a bishop of Rome, but it wasn't like an institution up until like 300 or like 200 years later. So.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to see what you thought on that.
Okay.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for being here. Somebody says no one legitimately thinks the Earth is 6,000 years old. Oh, you would be so surprised, my friend. You would be so surprised. There are so many people that think the Earth is like 6,000 or 7,000 years old. It's like so many people. Super Chaz, how's it going?
It's going good, thanks.
Glad to hear it. Super Chaz, how old do you think the Earth is?
I have no reason to give a statistical answer because the age of the Earth is currently defined by what we know of, based on carbon data and stuff like that. So really,
has nothing to do with carbon dating, actually, but that's interesting.
So what is your point then with the Earth's age other than carbon dating?
Well, carbon dating only gets you to like 50,000 years, and the Earth is far older than that.
But there is statistics summary based on carbon dating that can define way more back than 50,000 years. So
no, you're thinking of radiometric dating, not carbon dating.
I understand, trying to argue with it, but statistics say otherwise. So I'm sorry about,
So carbon dating only goes back about 50,000 years because the half-life of carbon is like of carbon-14 is like 5,700 years or so. Now, what we do use to do radiometric dating to figure out the age of the Earth is we use uranium-lead dating. It has nothing to do with carbon, though.
Okay, but as I said, I don't really have a statistical answer to answer how old the Earth is, because we do not know fully how old the Earth is. We only bring answers based on what there is on Earth, if you understand what I mean.
So, are you skeptical of the scientific consensus?
I'm skeptical of like what to believe based on Earth's age. Like obviously the common, like what people believe Earth is to be like 6 billion years old, 5 billion years old, right?
4.5, but sure.
4.5, right? And so with your thing about the church lied, so you are referring to Bishop Ussher, aren't you, from the 17th century?
Well, yeah, but I'm not referring specifically to him. There are a lot of churches, at least in the United States, that actually explicitly teach that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Okay, well, I am not really too what's the word for it? I wouldn't say like I am too like obliged by it. Obviously the churches were like, the philosophical side, was done like, in like the early ages. So there wasn't much scientific factors or, extensives to, what they were.
Okay, so look, it just doesn't. So you are skeptical of the accepted age of the Earth by the scientific community. Why?
Skeptical of what again?
Skeptical of the age as determined by the scientific community.
Because there's not like a literal certain number.
4.54 billion years plus or minus 50 million.
Yeah, but that's based on what we know.
Yeah. And why are you skeptical of that?
Because it's not, as I said, it's not a certain number.
I don't understand what the issue is. Like, how much?
It's not
Super Chaz, how much do you weigh?
I weigh 45 kg.
Okay, now, So exactly 45 kg, or like 45.1, or 40, or 44.96.
I weigh 45.3.
Okay, 45.3 exactly, or 45.325.
So if I convert real quick, it's 43.3251861.
So sorry, you're using stone, right?
So that's for stone. That's 7 stone, 3 pounds.
Yeah. Okay, so 7 stone. So why did I'm American? Why would you give it to me in kilograms?
I mean, I'm English. I know
United
you're
English,
Kingdom.
so why not give stone in pounds?
I mean, I'm speaking through my words. I mean, I don't know where to dictate about that.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's just it sounded like you were trying to convert to like kilogram for somebody else. But anyway, look. So all I'm saying is that if you step on a scale, it's going to read some number of pounds, right? Or some number of stone, some number of pounds, and it's not going to tell you 6.38473 pounds. It's going to tell you 6 pounds, and so there's some uncertainty in every measurement that you make.
Can I tell you an uncertainty?
Wait, before you do that, do you understand the point I'm making? That every single measurement that you make, scientific or otherwise, is going to have uncertainty, but you don't doubt that you weigh whatever you weigh.
Okay, I have a question. How can you count, like, how can you tell how long a second is?
It's defined by a certain number of cesium, or defined by a certain number of oscillations in a certain electromagnetic wave that's emitted from a cesium atom. It's just defined.
Because, time, seconds, it can be shortened or expanded. It can,
So it absolutely can. It absolutely cannot. So time is a second is a very specific amount of time. I can pull up the exact number. So a second is defined to be exactly so you take the fixed numerical value of the cesium frequency, delta V, or delta nu, which is the unperturbed ground state hyperfine transition frequency of cesium-133. A second is precisely 9,192,631,770 oscillations of the photon that's emitted during the ground state hyperfine transition of a cesium-133 atom. That's exactly what a second is. No more, no less. Can't change. That's exactly what a second is.
But that's a pre-based evidential fact. It's not a certainty.
This is a certainty. This is what a second means. It's exactly that amount of time.
But how does that correlate with the evidential fact of the second?
I don't know what you mean by the evidential fact of the second. It is a fact that a second is precisely that much time.
There's factors. Blitz, there's factors to it.
No, there's not. This is an SI defined unit of time.
Oh my god.
And it's defined to be that much.
You're doing physics, Blitz, and you don't understand the factors.
There are no factors here. This is the definition of a second.
Blitz, you need to do your research.
This is the definition of a second.
Okay, definition of second, right. You got the correct definition of second, right. But it's not certain. It is
certain. This is what a second is exactly by definition. Okay, this would be like you coming up to me, and this would be like you coming up to me and asking how long is a foot, and I said, oh, a foot is 12 inches, and you said, yeah, but there's uncertainty there. A foot isn't exactly 12 inches. I'm like, no, a foot is defined to be 12 inches.
That's by knowledge defined.
This is defined. This is defined as to what. This is the definition of a second. This is the definition of a second.
So why is it different in black holes then?
So a second near a black hole is a second everywhere. So a second is defined by the rate at which a cesium emitted photon oscillates. That is what a second is defined as. Now, what is true is that there are relativistic effects that change what a second is to you and what a second is to some other person in some other place or moving at some other speed. But both people have the exact same definition of a second. It's just those definitions will disagree with each other based off of things like speed and so on.
So how can you give evidence that a second in a black hole is the same as a second outside the black hole?
It's defined to be the same.
It's not. You're not seeing the perspective, because it's literally contradictory. It's literally not. So a second is a certain amount of proper time, and it's that amount of proper time. Well, that's what you believe. That's
just what a second is defined to be.
That's what you define it to be. That's what you see.
No, I
to
didn't
be-
define this. The International System of Units defined this.
Yes, and obviously you're going to take that as for credits.
That's
credits
just
they
what
should
the
have.
word means.
That's what they say. That's what
What
they
do
say.
you-
I could be.
who
I
else-
could be the. I
yeah,
could be the
okay.
international.
You're right. You could just decide to define seconds in a different way, and that would be fine, I guess. But no one else would agree with you because we all have agreed on what a second is.
Like, you take these based off sources, and like I could say that I'm from that source, and I could just give out.
You
some
can just
random-
go. You can just go to the SI. Look, we can probably
know I
just go
could.
to
I
the
know
SI
I could.
website if you want.
Blitz, I know I could. I've gone on the website multiple times.
Okay,
But,
so
like,
do you want to go to the so you've been to the SI website?
Yeah, I've been to it.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't think that there is an SI website.
There is.
No, there's the Bureau International des Poids et Mesures, which is a French thing.
As an RSA website, yes. So I don't know.
And so in their own on that website, on the BIPM website, they will define for you what a second is. It's like I'm looking at a PDF right now where it will define for you what a second is. You want me to show you?
But how can you define the length of a second based?
What do you
on
mean?
the-
How can you define it? They did it.
They
It's
did it.
done.
It's done.
Yeah,
It's done.
it is defined. This is what a second is. Do you think a second is anything other than a convention that humans agree upon?
This is just me giving a critical, contradictory like statement. This isn't me like believing that a second long isn't a second long. I'm just talking to basis of like how does the calculations sum up to this correction? If you understand what I mean. Like I'm trying to make.
No, I have no idea what you mean.
I'm trying to make the words out, but so we're taking the information, from man to man, right? This isn't like, something from holy to divinity, right? This is our calculation basis. Like, how can obviously everything cannot be perfect, but there can be relations to near perfection.
I don't know what you're talking about. Look, this is the official definition of a second. It's in French, but I trust that we can translate, right?
All right then. Do you want to read it to me?
Well, I can't read French, but I can read the translation for you if you want. So the
can do the
translation.
translation.
So I'm not going to pretend that I can read French or it'll sound very silly. So this part says the International System of Units, the SI, is a system of units according to which, and then the very first entry is the frequency of the hyperfine transition of the ground state of the unperturbed cesium-133 atom, nu CS, is equal to 9,192,631,770 hertz. Now,
And here's the other, and here's the other,
one hertz
here's the other
is
thing.
the inverse of a second, so you can derive what a second is from this.
But here's the thing I can point out. How can you define hertz? That's the thing. It goes in blocks and blocks and blocks. How you
So
define a hertz?
hertz. So this is the definition of a hertz, of 1 hertz. It is 9,192,631,770th of the frequency of that particular transition in a cesium atom.
But under bind code, unit X, it's imperfect. It's not.
What?
It's not exact.
What was the phrase that you just said? Something
Bind
unit.
code unit X.
I don't know what that means.
You can do some research on that, but it's.
I don't know what the word means. I don't even know what word you said.
The bind code unit X is the theorem of binary and how binary and other components of electro conversions correlate with each other, basically.
What's the first one? Sorry, what's the first word?
Bind code unit X.
Fine code Unidex.
Bine. BINE.
Okay, bind code Unidex.
Yeah.
All right. It appears. Okay, so I typed that into Google. I just want to show people because this is funny. I typed that into Google. It's not a thing. The phrase bind code Unidex appears to be a misinterpretation or combination of terms related to Binance and the cryptocurrency Unidex.
I don't know what it's going to crypto for.
Me neither.
I don't know what it's going to crypto for, but it's called bind.
How do you spell it?
Bind code Unidex.
How do you spell it?
BINE. Code Unidex.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it's a thing.
Oh, that's strange because I swear I've been on that thing before.
But anyway, this seems like we're a little bit off topic here. We know what a second is, so we know what a year is, and so it's pretty easy to make the statement that, yeah, the world is 4.5 or 4.54 billion plus or minus 50 million years.
Okay, so with your defiance, like, yeah, obviously you interpreted how, like, we know what a year is because of the traveling around the sun.
Well, no, because a year is defined as a certain number of seconds.
So how come it's different in other planets then?
A year is a name for a unit of time, right? And so we would say that that Mars takes, 1.6 years or whatever to go around the sun.
Based on calculations, yes.
Well, we can just time it.
Yeah, time it, yeah. I mean, whatever method you want to choose to do it. But, like, honestly, like...
So a year is
I was thinking
31,556,925.9747 seconds as of April 2025.
All right, that's good to know.
So we know how long a year is. We know how long a second is. So we can make sensible statements like the Earth is 4.54 plus or minus 50 million years. And look, I just don't know what your contention is with that. If you just don't like it because it conflicts with the Bible, well.
No, it's not that at all.
Tough cookies.
But either way, the Bible doesn't refine anything about the Earth being 6,000 years old.
I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
It makes a whole bunch of statements about genealogies, and it says things like Methuselah lived to 900 something years old, and that's kind of silly, but it is what it is.
But like the fact is, like, you're not like synthesizing the text; you're just subtracting things out just to try and bring out something.
Yep, I agree. I agree. This is not a thing that's very well done, but people still believe it. Super Chaz, it doesn't seem like you're interested in talking about the topic, so I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for being here. All right, let's bring up our next guest. We should read some super chats. So we got a thank you from Tony J for the 500 joules. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate that. And then we got $100. Thank you, Kung Pao Chicken. That's enormous. Get a W, Kung Pao Chicken, in the chat. Dr. Blitz, love your channel. New to it, though, and was wondering, do you stick to one topic per live? This is the first one I've seen that isn't convinced me to believe in God. Yeah, so I usually do 3 topics. You probably saw Friday, you probably saw yesterday's, which was convince me to believe in God, and maybe you saw Thursday's, which was also convince me to believe in God. But I have 3 topics that I usually rotate through. I rotate through this one, the atheism one, and then the flat Earth one. So yeah, that's what I do. But thank you for the $100, man. I appreciate that. Now let's bring up another guest. Let's talk to Fuzzy D.
Hello? Oh,
Fuzzy
shit.
D, how's it going?
No, you know me. I'm not. I accidentally entered. Bye bye.
Okay, you're good. Thank you. All right, let's talk to Joshua. Joshua, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing A-okay. Joshua, how old do you think the Earth is?
Well, I agree with you that the Bible doesn't necessarily say that the Earth is 6,000 years old. One thing that you may be able to help me understand better is one issue that I have with radiometric dating and its accuracy is the presence of so you have daughter isotopes, and then so say you have uranium, it breaks down into lead. There could already be lead present in the sample that you are dating, so it could look like the ratio is greater than what it really is. And how do they solve that problem?
Yeah, so one of the ways is by using zircon crystals. Zircon crystals are a type of chemical structure. They involve zirconium, silicon, and oxygen. And as a result of the kind of crystal that it is, lead, so imagine they have like molten zircon, basically molten zirconium, silicon, and silicon and oxides and things like this, all molten together. As the crystals start to form, as it starts to cool down and crystallize, it rejects lead atoms, just because the lead atoms can't fit into the crystalline lattice. It just doesn't fit there. And so we know, just from the chemistry of zircon crystals, that when a zircon crystal forms, it has 0 lead in it.
Okay. And then another thing, so like, I'm sure you're familiar with Pangea, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So say that Noah's flood did happen, okay? And in the Bible, what it says from Noah's flood is it says there was basically like a shell of water around the earth, and then water that came up from the earth. So the earth split open. I know that we kind of can use plate tectonics to date the earth as well, so to speak. We can see the rate at what the plates are currently moving, and then we can determine, how much they've moved over so much time, the speed they're moving, so to speak. What my question would be, say that the earth did split open, there was a flood, right? And there was a rapid movement initially of the plates that separated Pangea. And then now what we're seeing is just the residual movement from that rapid movement that all happened quickly and initially at once.
And if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. Look, we can do what ifs all you want. You just have to present the evidence.
Well, I mean, we can't observe it. So how could I possibly do that? It would have already happened.
So look, geologists do this kind of thing all the time. They examine, they examine rock layers, they examine sediment, they examine, things like they can do, what's it called, seismography to figure out where things are in the mantle. The point is you can do science to this stuff. If you have a hypothesis, then that hypothesis is either unfalsifiable, meaning that it's not a hypothesis at all, so you should just throw it away, or it makes predictions, and then you can just go check those predictions.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I went to Ohio State for earth sciences, so I know exactly what you're talking about. There's actually several fault lines all over the earth that are just incredibly bent. That, in a way that makes no sense. We don't understand how it could have happened. And it is evidence that...
Do you think that that's the case? Do you think that if I were to Google right now, why are fault lines bent, do you think I would find an answer?
I think you would, yeah, but I don't think that it would be able to be proved because it wasn't observed.
So, to be clear, you made one statement and then you retreated, you did a Mott and Bailey fallacy, to something that's
Can you
easier
explain
to
me what
defend.
that means?
Yeah, a Mott and Bailey fallacy is where you make one statement, and that's kind of absurd. And then when pressed on it, you retreat to something. You retreat to. Please, I'm in the middle. Let me finish explaining what a Mott and Bailey fallacy is. You make one very, very contentious, very perhaps absurd statement, and then when pressed on it, you retreat to a less absurd and say, but that's what I meant. What I meant is the less absurd, easier to defend thing. And the absurd statement that you made.
I thought I asked you a question.
The absurd statement that you made. No, I mean you did. The absurd statement that you made was that there is no explanation for these folded fault lines.
Okay, I'll give you that. That was. I probably should not have said that. But what I'm saying is there's no observable explanation.
I don't know what you mean by observable explanation. Explanations are concepts. I don't know how you observe a concept.
No one saw the fault lines bend.
Okay, no one saw the flood happen.
Correct. But somebody
the point
wrote it
is
down.
we can still do science to these things. We can still do science to these things and establish what happened, what didn't happen, what processes are possible, what processes are not possible.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So right now, we're pretty aware, I would see, you'd probably agree with me, that, don't worry, I'm not driving, I'm just sitting in my truck. I'm sure that you would agree with me that dinosaurs wouldn't be able to exist in the environment that we have on the Earth now.
I mean, in some sense, they do. Birds are a type of, or some birds are a type of dinosaur. But I don't know what you mean by they wouldn't be able to exist. Oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, there is something to be said that there is a certain amount of oxygen in the atmosphere 65 million years ago or so, or 100 billion years ago, that isn't present now.
Correct. Now, what difference would it make potentially if the globe was circled with of like water?
I don't know what the question means.
Do you think that would create a better opportunity for larger species like dinosaurs to exist?
No. Having more water doesn't
Why?
mean having more oxygen.
No, water around the globe. So the sunlight would go through the water before it gets into the earth.
Yeah, I don't see how that would have anything to do with whether or not dinosaurs would be able to thrive.
It would create a greenhouse effect. It would allow trees to
That
grow
has
bigger.
nothing to
It
do
would
with
allow
the
plants.
amount of oxygen. If you're referring to the temperature,
Of course it does.
if you're
No, of
so
course
maybe
it does,
maybe on
because
a, maybe as a second order effect, that you could say like, oh, it would it might like increase the amount of greenery that grows because it's warmer, and therefore that
Which would
might increase the
increase
amount of
oxygen.
oxygen.
Yes.
I mean, perhaps. But
Okay.
then it sounds like you're saying that there was water surrounding the earth.
No, the Bible says that.
I know the Bible says that. The Bible thinks that water is made of space. Sorry, space is made of water. Do you think that?
The Bible does not think that space is made of water.
Okay, so what is above the sky in the Bible?
Water.
Yeah,
And then
and
above
what's
that
above the
is the
sky in real
heavens.
life? It's called space.
Yeah, because the water's not there anymore. Now
So you're
it's
telling
just
me
heavens.
that prior to the flood, the space wasn't real?
No, I'm telling you that prior to the flood there was water, and then space was above the water.
Okay, so why was the water there?
My
What was holding it up?
Well, to be honest with you, I believe that the intention before was for humanity to not die. I don't believe God ever wanted death.
And yet,
I
he
believe
caused
that-
a flood?
Well, he caused the flood due to the original sin. You're aware of that.
Well, but I thought that he didn't want anyone to die.
He didn't, but people
But
chose
then he caused
to
a flood,
walk
and he
away from
wanted
him.
it. Then he caused a flood, which caused basically everybody to die.
Man, if I got into you with my beliefs on why God caused the flood, you'd probably think that I was a freaking moron.
Don't you
But I
think
could tell
that?
you.
Don't you think that if you have a belief that would make other people think that you're dumb, you probably shouldn't hold that belief?
I do not think that. In fact, I think that there's been people all throughout history who people ridiculed, and like Aristotle. There's people all throughout history that people ridiculed and thought were dumb. But
I
at
don't
the end
think
of the
people
day, they actually had a
ridiculed
good understanding.
Aristotle. It's neither here
Maybe
nor
it
there,
wasn't
though.
him. It
But
was
look-
it was a different philosopher.
Look, so
maybe.
what I don't understand is we have very reliable methods at coming to the conclusion that the Earth is older than 6,000 or 7,000 or 10,000 years. We have very, very reliable methods, and they all agree that the Earth is older than that. Now, not all of them go far enough back that we can even make a claim that, like, you know, like we can't use tree ring data, for example, to figure out how old the Earth is in its entirety, because trees haven't been around for the entire time that the Earth has. But what we can use tree ring data is to come to the conclusion that the Earth is what, like, more than 15,000 years old. And that's in strict contradiction with the kinds of claims made in the Bible, right?
Well, tree ring data piggybacks off of carbon dating as well.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, show me how it doesn't.
Yeah, so what they use is they use concurrent tree rings. So a single tree, probably, like, there are a few trees that can live a few thousand years, right? But a single tree is not going to live that long. But what they do is they find one tree, and then they find like an old dead tree that have overlap. So they can extend tree ring data by finding overlaps between trees, and I think that the current record is something like 15,000 years or something like that, for like the
you know
oldest
what they
oldest
do?
date that we can go back by, like, overlapping trees.
Do you know what they do when they can't find the overlap?
Then it just doesn't go into the overlapping trees chronology.
They
Like
carbon
that's why it
date,
only goes
bro.
back
Look
like
into
15,000
it.
years.
They carbon dated at that point. Look into
Right,
it. I
right.
know
So I'm
this.
not
I learned
referring
this
to
in
ones that
college.
require carbon dating. I'm referring to just those that have overlap. And you can go back like 15,000 years this way. I can go find it. I can go find the reference for you if you want.
Yeah, like I said, I don't believe that the Bible specifically says the earth is 6,000 years old. I do believe that the people in the genealogies lived the lengths of time that the Bible says they lived, though. And
You
I
do
believe that they were able to live.
So you believe that people...
I do.
So how old do you think that the Earth is then?
Well, like I said, there's something. So what we know is in the Bible, we know the creation story of Earth. But we know that there were things before Earth was created. We know there were angelic beings before Earth was created.
This all sounds like not answering.
Well, what I'm saying is I don't know specifically from the Bible, just by reading the Bible, exactly how old the Earth is. I don't think the Bible directly states that.
Do you think that the Bible gives you reason to believe that it's less than 10,000 years old or less than 20,000 years old or something like this?
I don't think there's any need to believe that, personally. No.
Okay.
But
So you think that the Bible is
say,
compatible with a 4.5 billion year old Earth?
Oh, plenty of people have made it possible for it to be compatible. But I do think it's possible that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old as well.
On what grounds?
I'm not completely convinced that radiometric dating is as accurate as we believe it to be.
On what grounds?
Like I said earlier, the presence of the daughter isotopes, and I'll have to look into what you said about the zircon and understand that better, because you just taught me that today. I'll have to read more into that and learn. I'm not like dunce, you know. I'm very interested in knowing what the truth is. So I'm glad that you led me to that, and I'm going to look into it.
But I'm surprised that you haven't. Like, this is like the first thing that you learn when you learn about radiometric dating for like the age of the Earth. So I'm just surprised that you haven't seen this before, if you're someone that's interested in learning how things work.
Well, I've just never been put onto it before by anyone. No one's ever actually told me what you just told me. I've asked this question to freaking tons of people, and no one's ever said that to me.
Have you Googled it?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe that should have been your first stop. Bro. I appreciate that. No, I appreciate the honesty. I mean, like, look, fortunately, we don't have to rely on radiometric dating to figure out that the Earth is, you know, older than 10,000 years or whatever. Like, we can just do ice core samples from Greenland, for example. We can, look at the rate at which stalactites and stalagmites form in caves. We can go look at like fossils of coral, which have like, they don't really have tree rings, but they have like, they grow layer by layer according to seasons. We can go look at things like what is it? It's called cosmogenic nuclide dating methods, which looks at how long it's been since like a rock was exposed to the surface. There's like so many different ways that we can use to figure out how old the Earth is, and they all say that it's more than 10,000 years old.
Sure, but you do realize that there are like issues with a lot of those things as well. For instance, tree ring dating, like, it's not necessarily that a tree gets a ring every year. It's proven that if there's harsh seasons, it will cause a ring on trees. A tree could go through 4 years of very harsh changes in seasons, could look.
I mean, maybe you're right, but do you have a source for this?
I mean, I don't have a source other than my education.
So I'm just Googling. So yes, trees can sometimes get more than one ring per year, although one ring per year is a typical pattern for trees in temperate climates. So this can happen if there are sudden changes in growing conditions, such as a dry spell followed by heavy rain, which can cause the tree to lay down a false ring within a single year. So
yes,
yeah,
or storms.
So you're right. Apparently you can get false rings, and I guess it's fairly easy to tell because it's a dark band if you have a false ring, due to a temporary period of stress.
They try to tell you that, dude. I had to learn how to do tree ring dating in college. It is hard.
Fortunately, you don't just rely on a single tree, right? So when you have 100 trees that all point to the same conclusion, then you have good reason to think that this is something that is a true conclusion. And then even if you say, oh, well, maybe something happened to all 100 by some like freak of nature accident, well, then you can go use other methods. You can go use ice core dating. You can go use cosmogenic nuclide dating. You can go use coral growth rates or coral growth dating. You can go use radiometric dating. You can go use carbon dating if you want. There's 100 different ways that you can check these things.
Look up the issues with ice core dating real quick.
So look, is your claim that every single method has a 2% chance of being wrong, therefore we can't trust any of them?
My claim is simply that nothing is certain. That's it.
That isn't a good reason to reject scientific consensus.
I agree. That's why I'm exploring it by asking you questions and learning.
So why is it that, so look, here's a question that you should probably ask yourself, and I'll ask it for you. Why is it that you know about the flaws of ice core dating, the flaws of dendrochronology, the flaws of radiometric dating, but you don't know at all how these things actually work?
Well,
Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to me that you don't know how uranium lead dating works, but you know about the flaws in ice core dating. That's a very, very strange set of facts to know.
When I was in college, we didn't really focus on a lot of that stuff as much. And I believed everything that I learned in college. I took advanced oceanography courses, and I learned about coral reefs, and I learned about all that. I learned about ice core dating and tree ring dating. I learned how to tree ring date, which it's very freaking hard, by the way, very hard. I learned all this stuff in college, and I fully believed it. But then I started asking questions. And when I started asking questions, I started realizing that there are fallacies. And that's when I realized that really nothing is certain. There are very good evidences to believe one way or the other.
Okay, what's
really
the good
nothing is
evidence to
completely
believe
certain.
that the Earth is 6,000 years old? Or say less than 10,000 years old? What's the evidence?
As I've already stated, I don't necessarily believe that there's good evidence for that.
You just said that there was.
No, I
literally
said that there
2
is
seconds ago.
evidence.
Okay, so you're saying you're saying that there is evidence, it's just not good evidence?
I'm saying it's possible. That's what I'm telling you. It is
Okay,
possible.
and it's possible that there's a teacup orbiting Jupiter right now. It doesn't mean that we should believe it.
Well, maybe there is.
Do you believe it? If NASA told you that there's not a teacup orbiting Jupiter, would you say, we can't trust NASA about that? It's possible that there is.
What I'm saying, man, is that there is... I like to question things, not because I want to be an asshole, but because I want to know the truth.
How much of the Bible have you questioned?
A lot.
Okay.
I've read the whole Bible multiple times.
And do you think, which things in the Bible do you think are not reliable?
A lot of the New Testament, to be honest with you, unfortunately.
Like what specifically?
Well, so Paul really just goes back and forth. Like, he says that we're not living by the law. He says that we are living by the law. And I know for a fact that Constantine had played a huge role in changing things in the Bible. So the New Testament, I believe, was really probably mainly scripted by Constantine. That's my opinion.
Okay, so you don't think that the stories about Jesus rising from the dead are reliable?
No, I do believe that Jesus rose from the dead.
But I thought you said that it was mostly written by Constantine.
Well, so I don't believe... Okay, so I'll say this. I believe Constantine changed Yeshua's name to Jesus because Jesus is also said Jesus, and Jesus is a sun god. That's why he changed the Sabbath day to Sunday to celebrate the sun god, because Constantine celebrated Helios.
So that doesn't answer my question.
So just as the sun sets and the sun rises, that's what I believe that Constantine believed.
So is Jesus rising from the dead 100%?
Yes.
Okay. But I thought that you question everything.
I do.
But you don't question
that for years.
Oh, so then how did you come to the conclusion that it's 100%? Because that's a huge percentage.
Well, you're not going to like my answer. No one ever does like this answer.
How did you come to the conclusion
that
Jesus rose from the dead 100%? I'd love to hear it.
It's personal experience.
Okay. So you've had personal experience. How do you know that your personal experience is 100% accurately represents what actually happened?
Well, I mean, I know this much. I know I had 2 fractures in my back, and I was prayed over, and I felt my back be healed. I went to the chiropractor, he took x-rays, and my fractures in my back were gone. I had surgery scheduled. In fact, it was supposed to be in January. So I know God's real, right? So then moving on.
Well, hold on.
There,
how do you know that God's real? Why are you 100% on that?
So what do you think miraculously healed me when someone prayed over me in the name of Yahweh?
Aliens. Have you ruled out aliens?
I think that aliens are just a different term for angelic beings.
Okay, have you ruled out angelic beings that exist? and healed you.
No, not at all.
Okay,
Actually,
so then you can't be 100% because it could have been like aliens rather than a god.
Angelic beings require a price.
I don't know what that means.
It means that nothing's free in that world. Everything requires a price.
That seems like a weird
guides,
dogma to have. Like, what if aliens just like came from another planet and they're like, hey, that guy seems like chill, let's fix his back.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool, I suppose.
Like,
but
it's just
you're
not
doing
like
exactly. You're doing the same thing you're saying I'm doing.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'm
and
aware.
Yet, so what I'm trying to illustrate is that you're inconsistent with your skepticism.
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I deconstructed from Christianity. My parents brought me up as a Christian. My parents were not the greatest for a while in my life. They left me when I was 16.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I put the middle finger up to God. Unfortunately, I got addicted to drugs. My life fell apart. Whole bunch of stupid stuff. But
I'm sorry to hear that. But look, can you respond to what I just said?
Well, wasn't your question like what is like? Did I ever have skepticism toward God?
No,
wasn't that your question?
I didn't ask a question. I said you are selective about what. Well, okay, I could pull up the replay, but roughly what I said is that you're selective about what you're skeptical towards.
Right.
You're not skeptical towards your belief in God. You are skeptical towards scientific evidence.
No, what I was trying to tell you is that I have spent like at least 12 years of my life skeptical toward God. At least. Like when I was in college going to Ohio State for earth science, I full-heartedly believed every single thing they taught me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did not believe the earth was anything less than 4.3 billion years old or whatever. I fully believed everything. And I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense. It does make sense. There wouldn't be scientists all over the world that believed it if it didn't make sense. It does
wouldn't be
make
scientific
sense.
consensus, right?
Exactly. The equations work. Everything works, and it does all make sense.
It all fits together. All the pieces fit together.
Exactly. But I believe that we can make things make sense. As humans, I believe that we are capable of putting things together. For instance, for a very long time, people thought the earth was flat, you know?
Finish that sentence. You believe that we're capable of putting things together.
I believe that we are capable of putting things together in a way that appears to make perfect sense.
Right. And
but
you injured your back how?
I think
you don't have to tell me if you don't want to. It's fine.
It was probably when I was using drugs. I rolled a car like 6 times.
Okay, and so you're absolutely right that we can make things make sense. That when you go to a doctor, and there are people praying over you as well, you can absolutely make it make sense that your miraculous healing has to do with the prayer and not some other physiological thing. You can make things make sense. Humans are really good at that.
You're absolutely right. That's why I'm saying I don't believe anything to be absolutely certain.
Didn't you say that you believe Jesus rose from the dead 100%?
I do, but that's because of my personal experiences.
Certainty. But that's 100% certainty, right?
But that is a personal belief that I can't press on to another individual.
But you said that you don't believe anything is absolutely certain, except that thing.
I guess let me explain. I don't believe that as across all of humanity that we are going to all agree on something to be absolutely certain. I don't believe that.
But you don't have a problem believing that something is absolutely certain.
Correct, which I believe you don't have that problem either, do you?
No, I do.
You don't think anything's absolutely certain?
I mean, with perhaps the exception that there is something thinking. The whole, I think, therefore I am, that whole business. Perhaps with that exception, because it's kind of self-evident, I'm a fallibilist about knowledge. I don't think that you require absolute certainty in order to know something.
I agree with you. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. In fact, that's why science is like ever-changing, really. I agree with that. I actually like a lot of what you've said, man. You've given me a lot to think about. I do have to go because I have to get to work, but I appreciate your time.
Hey man, well, I'm glad that you're doing better now. I'm glad that you got out of the stuff that you were involved in. And keep on trucking, okay?
Thank you.
Have a
good
good one,
day,
Josh.
man.
Honestly, he has some learning to do. I think he probably caught on. I was very impressed when he caught on that I was doing what he was doing, and maybe that'll lead him to some introspection. From Maddie Meister, we have $2. Some of your favorite childhood video games. Look, so I spent... If I were to check right now how much time I have logged into a single RuneScape account that still exists, it would be measured in the hundreds of days. So maybe that gives you the answer. Kung Pao Chicken with another $100. Thank you so much for the contribution, Kung Pao. Let's get another enormously large W for Kung Pao Chicken. Kung Pao Chicken says, you're welcome and thanks. I can't tune into this one, but I made a TikTok to join the convo one of these days. Cheers. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Tim Davidson sends $2. KFD Kentucky Fried Dino. True. Absolutely true. Maddie Meister sent $2. Water and sky so Brontosaurus could have sippy sip. Look. Tim Davidson, thank you for the $5, Tim. Let's not forget Methuselah, the grove of aspen trees. That's really one organism. Yeah, but the way that you date that is with... Well, actually, I don't know how they date that. I'd have to look into it. But that's one of these things that's like hard because it's not like a single tree, so it doesn't have tree rings that are 50,000 years old or whatever. So it's a little bit harder to do. All right, let's bring up another guest. Let's talk to David Vasquez. Or Vasquez? David, how's it going? David? David. All right. All right, well, we got another super chat. Thank you for the $2, Maddie. Favorite skill, ever get a 99 cape? Sorry, I have to sneeze. I feel like there's one more. Okay, maybe not. So I, my first skill above 90 was runecrafting. It wasn't my first 99, but it was my first skill above 90. I got it to like 93 just running the abyss for like, and I got it to 93, so I could grind for a party hat, which I still have, by the way. This was like way back in the day. This was like 2010 or something like this, or maybe even earlier. Maybe it was like 2006 or I don't remember what year it was. But yeah, my character is maxed. So like, so I maxed and then I quit. I haven't played it since. Anyway, let's bring up another guest. B-Boy, how's it
Hello,
going?
can you hear me?
I
Yo,
can.
how's it going?
I'm doing all right. B-Boy, how old do you
Hi.
think the Earth is?
Well, I'm a Christian. I don't know if there is a definitive age to the Earth, but I toss my belief around a little bit. I have a question though about what you were saying earlier. So, for instance, let me preference this with an example. Say you were God and you just now created Earth, and you're trying to tell people how long that process took. You mentioned earlier that your definition of a second is like a fractional of a cesium atom's vibration, something like that.
Yeah, that's not just mine. That's like humanity's definition of a second.
Okay. Do you think that humanity would understand that concept as a measurement for time? Like what concept do you think God would have to give us and how old the Earth is?
Well, look, people understood years. He could have said, oh, you know, the Earth has, like, I created the sun first, and then I created the Earth, and before I created you, the Earth went around 1,000 million times.
So
like,
how long does the Bible say that God took to create the sun?
Oh, I think he created the sun on the 4th day.
I thought it was the first day that all of the stars, he said, let there be light. Oh,
no,
okay.
no. So he created light on the 1st day. He created the sun on the 4th day.
What would a day be considered? Because I'm trying to put myself in God's shoes here to understand how this process works. What would a day be considered without a sun or Earth?
Yeah, so at the time, the ancient Hebrews, they believed that the sun wasn't the reason why there was daytime. It just marked daytime. So daytime and nighttime still existed even before the sun did. There was still the light part of the day.
You bring up a good point.
And the day part and the dark part of the day. And that happened whether or not there was a sun.
You bring up a good point. The ancient Hebrews didn't understand, the sun and the earth. So talking to beings that don't understand that, how would you have defined, the amount of time that it took? Because if the sun and the earth don't exist yet,
So then
there is no such thing as a day.
They understood years.
But there were no such thing as years without the sun and the earth.
Well,
a year is defined by the amount of time.
The fact of the matter is the sun did exist before the earth did. So like Genesis 1 just gets the order wrong.
Okay. So Alexa, in Genesis, when does it say that the sun was created?
Genesis doesn't
I'm just verifying.
the sun was created, but it does contain poetic elements that suggest the presence of sun.
I can just pull up the verse for you if you want.
Okay, go ahead. I'm just trying to verify that real quick.
Okay.
Suggests the angels may have sung during creation.
Here, let me pull up the verse
It's
for
saying, Alexa, silence.
you. Here's the verse. It's Genesis 1. I don't know if let's make this a little bit smaller so you can see it. Let's put the English translation so that it's bigger. So if we go to day 4, verse 16. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is verse 14. So 13, there was evening, there was morning, a third day. So the next line is day 4, right? And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. So that's the sun and the moon.
Okay, good point. So how do we know that the sun is older than the earth? By what method do we calculate that?
So we know how stars form. We know how planetary systems form. Planetary systems form after the stars form. We actually know that Earth didn't exist in its current state until like 50 million years after the sun formed. Because it collided with another planet.
There's no rogue non-solar planets that exist out there in the Milky Way?
So there are gas giants that exist. They're failed stars. The Earth is not one of those.
Yeah, so I mean, isn't a planet basically just whenever enough mass gathers up in an area to where it creates a smooth, large object? Anytime you take...
We don't have any reason to think that that's a thing that happens with rocky planets. As far as we can tell, rocky planets require stars.
So anytime you get enough mass inside in one area, that smooths out into a round surface that we would call that a planet, right? Like if you take a big enough asteroid,
the thing is
it's large enough to where it smooths out.
In order for such a thing to form, you need to have an accretion disk. Otherwise, you can't accumulate enough matter of the rocky kind of dust rather than gas.
Do you mind if I verify that with Alexa real quick? Because I'm just curious.
I guess if you want, yeah.
Alexa, are there planets that exist outside of solar systems, outside of a star's
range? Yes, there are planets outside of
You want rocky planets.
They're called exoplanets or extrasolar.
Alexa, are there rocky planets that exist away from stars, apart from stars?
Okay, ask for the source, because I don't think that's true. I don't think any have ever been detected.
Okay, I just did that as a quick reference. I mean, I can Google it, but I don't see any reason why you would need a star in order to create it. Because you have asteroids, you have belts and tons of mass.
Those things don't just exist away from stars, right?
Alexa, silence.
So the way that stellar formation works, the way that planetary formation works, is that you have a large density of of gas to protostar at the center, and it's that density, it's that gravitational gradient that allows the sorting of the sorting of different kinds of matter into different basically bands in a solar system. And without that central density, you're not going to get enough rock dust in a small enough area that it can collapse into a planet. There's something called gene instability here that plays a role for when things can form and coalesce into planetary bodies, and these things just don't exist outside of accretion disks.
So you're telling me, basically, with what you're saying right now, that if I Google, are there rocky planets outside of solar systems, that there is no such thing as a rocky planet that exists out of that.
So what you will find is that there are planets that have been ejected from solar systems. That's a thing. That's totally a possibility. that planets can be ejected from solar systems. In fact, that's how we think that most rogue planets exist. They formed in the solar system and then were ejected through various chaotic means. What you will not find is planets will not form outside of solar systems. Except failed stars, those ones can. They're called brown dwarfs.
I've never heard of this. I follow quite a bit of astronomy and cosmology. I've never heard of this concept that you're talking about.
You've never heard of brown dwarfs? You've never heard of?
I've never heard of.
discs?
I've heard of brown dwarfs. I've heard of accretion disks. I've never heard that you can't have a rocky planet outside of or form outside of a star solar system.
Yeah,
Planets are just gathering of mass, just like stars, except for stars have different ingredients that cause them to be
gathering of mass has to have a certain, like there have to be certain criteria in order for these substances like dust and rock to coalesce into a planet. You have to have a specific, there are specific temperature requirements, specific pressure requirements, and on their own those things don't happen. The environment to produce those things occur around stars because of the accretion disk that forms.
How do you know that process didn't happen and then us become then we start to orbit our sun as a process after that?
So like I said, we don't have any reason to think that this is a thing that can happen, right? Like this conflicts with what we know about the formation of rocky planets.
I feel like we've gotten off of topic.
The point is it sounds like you're trying to defend Earth existing before the sun, and we have no evidence that that's the case.
So, what method are you using to age the sun older than Earth exactly? Can you repeat that?
It's just stellar formation. It's just basically the physics of stellar formation.
Okay, so we've been around long enough to be able to measure that process.
We've seen a lot of different. We've seen a lot of different stars form,
under your own belief.
We haven't seen them form in their entirety, but we've seen the different periods of stellar formation in many different systems.
That seems like that would take millions of years to be able to observe.
No, the point is so you're right. The star formation does take a long time, hundreds of thousands to millions of years. But what we can do is we can go look at 100 or 1,000 different stars, protostars, in the early stages of formation, right? And so instead of having just one star that you watch for 1,000,000 years, you have 1,000 stars that you watch for 10 years each.
To be able to break that process up and try and measure it.
Yeah, that whole thing.
That seems like it's an extremely speculative way of trying to measure something. Okay, I don't like measuring something
maybe you don't trust it. You realize that also in Genesis 1 it says that plants existed before the sun existed.
Okay, so what I was going on to before that concept, if you were to use time, like what sort of measurement would you use to explain to people in biblical days? Because
I would just use a year. I would tell them. Okay. I would tell them that I created the sun, and then I would say, 50 million years. I think that they had a word for million. 50 million years passed, and I created the Earth, and then another 50 million years passed, and I created the moon. And then
so there's no such thing as a year without the Earth, though. So how would they understand that concept? Because on one side of the spectrum, you're measuring it as the vibration rate of a seal. I can't remember the name of the
They know how long a year is.
Okay, so if you look at the Bible and you look at different verses, you have Genesis where it says the universe was created in 7 days, right? Mm-hmm. Then you go forward and it uses all these other things and it refers to them as increments of 7. And then there's other verses where it says, God flooded the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. You go a little bit forward, you see that the Israelites were stranded in the wilderness for 40 years. You go a little bit forward, you see that Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 4 days. There's a point in the Bible in which somebody asked Jesus, they said, I've heard it told that I should forgive my brother 7 times. And then Jesus said in response to that, because he knew that was a parabolistic number way of thinking of things, he said, no, you should forgive your brother 7 times 70 times. He was referring to the number 7 as a increment of
so it sounds like you're saying Genesis 1 is a metaphor.
It seems like it is because right there it admits Jesus
Okay,
is
but it gets the
admitting
order
that the
wrong.
number seven
But it
and you
gets the
well I
order
don't know
wrong.
definitively that it gets the order
It
order
does.
wrong.
Do you think that plants predated the sun?
Mm,
We know when plants formed. Like we have plant fossils, right?
so how do you measure that? Plant fossils.
Yeah, we have plant fossils. We can date
I'm
fossils.
just struggling to understand what you're using as your baseline for these measurements. You're saying that plants and that algae and bacteria and that life can't exist without a sun.
Well,
How
to
do
be
we know
clear,
that?
I didn't say algae and bacteria. I said plants. Because on day
Okay,
3,
so how do
it
you
says
know
God
that
literally
plants-
put grass. We know how old grass is. You can Google this. I think it's actually quite young. How long has grass existed? I think it's like 70 million years, but it wasn't widespread until much later. And so like grass just didn't exist before then. And like,
Yeah,
we
I
know
guess
what
I've never
animals
looked.
before that.
I've never paid attention to that particular. I guess I'd have to think about it for a little while, but I've never paid it. Whoa! I'm sorry, baby. Are you all right? Oh, I'm
Bro's a
sorry.
cat dad. I
didn't.
can't be mad at you.
Yeah, no, I just tripped on my cat.
I
He's
can't be
all
mad
right.
at you. Okay, as long as he's good.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. Yeah,
But look,
he's complaining, but
Look, so this is all to say, like, there's something very, very weird about the order. And, like, if the order was just, like, kind of made up based off of, like, what they thought was, like, the things that must have come first, like, the most basic things to the more complex things, then, like, yeah, you would get this order. Except we know that that's not how we know that this is not how it actually happened, because we have, like, we've spent, like, 100 years doing good science, right?
yeah.
So, like, why trust this story?
So I think the way that I typically look at the Bible, especially with the Old Testament, is if you're thinking about a belief system of a people and you're trying to explain something that can't be comprehended entirely by humanity, you're either trying to give them this massive descriptive tutorial of which, okay, and then this took this point, this point, this many seconds for this to happen, or you can kind of just look at it as God kind of gave a parabolistic manner of the way to look at things. So like,
But he did it wrong.
for instance,
He
people
got the order wrong.
For instance, people like there was a point in the Bible in which somebody said, "How come God takes so long to fulfill His promises?" And then this person said, "Well, to God, 1,000 years is like a single day, and a single day is like 1,000 years." Also, that kind of seems like it's describing time dilation. I mean, if you're looking at the universe as having time flow at different speeds and different gravitational
Except that would mean
fields
that God exists in some gravitational field, which you don't want to say.
and yeah, I would say he probably exists outside of the universe. So to
Yeah,
him,
so you couldn't have
like
time dilation there.
if time is a property of our universe and we experience fluctuations within the universe, who's to say that a person living outside or a being living outside of the universe wouldn't experience it more like a cassette tape, where they would be able to fast forward, and rewind, and go
So there wouldn't
back.
be time dilation for them. Look.
Yeah,
it would
so
be
I'm
one thing-
using time dilation to describe the type of concept that I'm referring to, not as saying that God is bound by time dilation.
So I would be sympathetic to the view if at least the order was right and that it was just simplified. But the order's not right. Like, you could change nothing except swapping 2 different days, and you would have way more grounds to stand on as far as what the scientific evidence says, right? For example, day 5, God creates the fish and the birds. Day 6, God creates animals and humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Birds came after animals. We have the fossils. Birds came, millions of years after animals existed. So if you had just swapped, if it said on day 5 God created the birds of the sea and the animals of the land, and on day 6 God created the birds of the heavens and man to watch over everything, it would be more correct. But it got it wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And that's weird that it's getting wrong. That it's getting it wrong.
I mean, so you believe that birds came after humans?
Yeah, no, birds came after animals, like land animals.
I mean, we all share common ancestors, so if
Yes,
birds
but
came, like you would say
birds are
that
a
they
type of
would
animal,
come.
right? Or a type of flying animal in particular.
Yeah, but don't they all kind of like doesn't this stage of bird come equally to this stage of feline, equally to this stage of human, equally to this stage of other mammal?
So,
Like if
sort
we all
of.
share a common ancestor, I don't get how you're saying that you're saying that birds existed prior to humans and that's
Well,
your
I mean, yeah.
method.
So, like humans have existed for 300,000 years, right? Birds have existed for 160, 170 million, or 160, 170 million years, something like this. And land animals have existed for more than that. So it's just strange that he would say that the birds and the fish were before the land animals.
Fish were before land animals.
Fish
were they
were,
not?
definitely. So it almost is
Okay.
right, except then it said that birds were at the same time, or perhaps just after the fish, and they were before the land animals. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've never looked into this. I guess it's something I'd have to think about. But yeah, I mean, interesting to hear about. Yeah, I'll look into it for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here, B-Boy. Go take care of your kitty baby. I can totally sympathize. Have a good one.
Yeah,
man.
no, he acted like he was a little upset with me after. He's fine though. All right,
Yeah,
thank
they
you for
always
having
are.
me. It's nice talking to you. Yeah.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, let's read some super chats. Duke of Shaska sends €2. My characters were in EVE Online. Yeah, that's a shame on you. No, I'm kidding. Lord of Gonzo sends $5. This guy and Alexa and anyone else bothered by how he told her to silence herself. So look, I can understand that it comes off badly. However, there are ways like you try not to anthropomorphize Alexa as a person. If you want your Siri or your Android Auto or whatever to shut up, then you tell it to silence, right? Like that is one of the key words that you can use. So try not to read too much into it. It was kind of weird that he kept asking Alexa, like Alexa is just like glorified Wikipedia. So anyway, but that is a good point. It isn't a coincidence that all these systems have female voices, and it's because it's because of patriarchy and stuff like female voices tend to sound more submissive and anyway. Mindos, thank you for the €2. Alexa, can you put God into a logical syllogism? Based. Yeah, no, we can tell that he can't be a horrible person because he treats his cat nicely. Boogie the Cat, thank you for the $2. Alexa, where did I put my keys? Meow. And Saint Deluded, thank you for the $5, Saint. Does Caller think that God wrote the Bible? A lot of people think that God told people told people the story and then people wrote it down. So that's what like a lot of people think, and I suspect that that's probably where he was going. All right, let's talk to Oscar.
Hello?
Oscar, how's it going?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How old do you think the Earth is?
I think the Earth is billions of years old, but I'm Catholic.
All right, well, thanks for being here, Oscar. Austin, how's it going?
Hello? Hey, sorry, I'm gonna make this real quick, but I just say I think you're doing really good things. Young Earth creationism is really sort of a dangerous belief that connects to a lot of other things, such as anti-vaxxing and flat Earth and a lot of things like that. So I appreciate it. But before you kick me off, I want to ask if you would be willing to weigh in on flood mythology real quick, because I think that is something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that there was a large flood in like ancient prehistorical memory in the Middle East from maybe like the Black Sea Basin. But interestingly enough, there is just no flood mythology in Egypt, right? And so if there was a global flood, if there was even like a large region-wide flood, you would have expected it in Egypt because that's in the same region, but there wasn't. There just isn't a catastrophic flood mythology in Egypt. So if there was a flood that was localized to say maybe like ancient Babylon or Sumer or something like that, that then got passed down to other religious traditions, that's possible maybe from like, maybe there was like the Black Sea flooding or something like this, maybe like 10,000, 12,000 years ago. And then people kind of passed it down orally and it moved to become this global thing. But it just wasn't like we know for certain that it wasn't a global thing.
Right, but there is also flood mythology in India.
Yeah, they also happen to be right next to a giant river.
This is true, but I mean, there's more.
There's also
examples.
some flood mythology in places like the American Midwest, amongst indigenous traditions, and they happen to be right in the path of melting glaciers.
Okay, so you think? I mean, these are all just geological things.
Yeah,
primarily.
Yeah, but Austin, I'm going to kick you off now. But thanks for being here.
Okay, fair enough. I got.
All right, let's talk to Brando. Brando, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing A-okay. So, Brando, how old do you think the Earth is?
I think it's 6,000 years old. Well,
Okay.
it could be a little older.
Yeah, so like less than 10,000 years old?
Yeah.
Okay, why so?
Well, I think that's what the Bible clearly teaches. that
Okay.
it's
But
only
like
now.
in light of like, you know, all of the scientific evidence we have, doesn't it just seem more likely that they were mistaken?
Well, I think there's evidence, like the oldest writings, like the oldest datable writings that have dates on them, if it's Sumerian texts, and they only go back 5,500.
Where's the oldest date? Sorry, I'm not even familiar. What's the oldest writing with a date on it?
The Sumerian text.
Which Sumerian text?
The Mesopotamian Sumerian text.
By the way, your audio is kind of bad. Can you speak a little bit more close, a little bit closer to the microphone? You there? Hello? Hello? Brando? I can't hear you when you're off the app.
What the heck?
Oh, I can hear you. Oh. Yeah. I can hear you again.
Okay.
So, the Sumerian text.
So which one is it? You there, Brando?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you
Okay,
hear
so
me?
what is the oldest known piece of writing that has a date on it?
So the Sumerian text doesn't have a date on it?
There were like a billion Sumerian texts. Which one?
Well, I don't follow like all of them. It's just like if I look up what the oldest writing is, like that's
Well,
where
right.
ChatGPT or
So if you look at
AI
the oldest writing, yeah, you will find that like, you know, maybe it's like ancient Sumer or something from like 5,500 years ago or something like that. But that date is not determined because they wrote a date down on their tablets, right? That date is inferred using other mechanisms.
What's the other mechanisms that they infer?
You can use carbon dating, for example. You can use historical dating based off of when you know other events took place. You can use king lists, and so you can get estimates that way. You know, X king lived for this long,
So
X
the
king lived for that
Sumerian
long, and
text-
so on.
Like the Hebrew. So for example, like the Hebrew text, like their calendar goes back 5,800 years, right?
Yep, but that doesn't
The
mean that there's a
Sumerian
that doesn't mean that
text,
there's a piece of writing that says
There's
that date
no
on it.
calendar. There's no calendar with the Sumerian
No.
text that dates it back to that 5,500.
So I just did some quick searching. It looks like the oldest text that actually like says a date on it is something from the Olmec civilization, and it dates to like 650 BC.
650 BC is all the further back that.
There's just no like dates. Like there are ways that you can come up with when it was written using kind of an indirect method, but there's no like it's not like written on this day or written in the year of this or whatever. Like
Well, I do like the Hebrew calendar goes back 5,800 years. There's got to be a reason why it only goes back 5,800 years, I think. So.
Well, because that by tradition, that's how long ago the Earth was created. That doesn't mean that there was a calendar 5,800 years ago.
So why would they base it off of that's when it was?
That's the tradition. You'd have to ask the people who established that date. We could Google it if you want, but
okay, yeah.
You'd have a hard time finding a document that's from that says it is, something that corresponds to like 3,800 BC. Now, just to be clear, we can figure out how old writings are with other methods, right? We can use carbon dating. We can use like historiographic dating by like looking at, when, like, if they say, oh, this king was alive or whatever, then you can go look at when that king was alive, and then you can kind of like, trace things back that way. There are a lot of ways that you can figure out how old something is, but rarely do we actually get dates on these things.
I find it weird that the calendar or whatever, if they're basing the Hebrew calendar, obviously, if you think it's tradition of just when they're just writing in the creation story into whatever they're writing at the time, that's what you think.
So I'm pretty sure that like this is just a tradition. I actually don't know when the first time Jewish people started using that calendar. I actually don't know the first year that it started.
Well, I don't even know, I don't know. I have a different feeling on like the Hebrew calendar versus like the Jewish people just solely using that, because there's meaning in the names of the Bible.
So I guess the Hebrew calendar was standardized in 359 CE. Yeah. So that was like, that's when it was like decided what year it was. And like who knows when, like who knows how it formed, like where they got that number from. I'm sure that we could go look into it. I'm pretty sure people have looked into it. I don't know off the top of my head. I imagine you don't know either.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's probably like the Bible, like teaching through the genealogies.
Could be.
Get that. But I believe there's evidence to support, like, even if we could do the calendars type stuff, I don't believe there's enough evidence in the carbon dating. I think there's flaws and assumptions that they put into the carbon dating. Obviously, I've got those off of like creation science like websites, which anybody can look that stuff up.
Mm-hmm. So why should we believe it's true?
Well, why should we not believe it's true?
Because you can go look at the research itself, right? Like, for example, we can use uranium lead dating to figure out how old zircon crystals are. And that's like a super reliable method to figure out that like some crystals are like billions of years old.
So I watched a guy that just, he used Grok 4 to break down the reliability of that dating method that you just discussed.
Mm-hmm.
And after like they broke it down into like all the variables, Grok said there's only like a 10% reliability in that dating.
Do you trust Grok?
Well, I don't trust really anything, but it's
so
like.
Then why are you citing Grok to me?
Because you're trying to cite me something else that I don't.
I'm citing scientists, not Grok.
Yeah, but yours, Grok 4 has access to everything that those scientists have done.
So I guarantee you that I could convince Grok 4 to explain how reliable. I guarantee you I could convince Grok 4 to say like, yeah, uranium lead dating is like super, super reliable. Because all LLMs do is they basically tell you what you ask them to tell you.
Well, that's the guy that broke it down on there. So they have used AI to like say
Here,
like.
let me open up ChatGPT 5.1, right? And I will just ask it, how reliable is uranium? Let me pull it up. Is uranium lead dating in zircon crystals? I don't want to show you I'll show it to you in just a sec once it gets rid of my name. Here. I don't think it has my name anywhere. Okay, cool. Here we go. Here we go. How reliable is uranium lead? And I haven't asked it this before. This is the very beginning of the conversation. Let's see what it says. Just give it a minute. And I bet you it won't say 10%.
It won't. But the guy asked it the questions like on all the variables that go into it, and he broke it down through like a 30-minute process to where and it wasn't like he was trying to manipulate it.
So, to be clear, you're telling me that he was trying to show it what all of the holes and all of the variables are to prime it to give a 10% chance? Is that what you're telling me? Because that sounds like what you're telling me.
He was only quoting like research that they had done on the accuracy of it and having it figure that into its process of
There we go. All right, we have our answer. For the right grains, uranium lead dating of zircon is about as reliable as geochronology gets, routinely better than 1% in age and often 0.1% for carefully treated samples. But it's not magic, it's reliable because there are multiple built-in cross-checks and lots of ways to detect when something goes wrong. And blah, 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 and there's just like a whole thing. But it's saying that it's super reliable. So look, your AI guy said that, said that it's only 10% reliable. Mine says that it's super reliable. It's as reliable as geochronology gets, routinely better than 1% in age. So who should we believe? Why don't we just believe scientists?
So you don't think that scientists are as infallible as the AI that we're using?
I think scientists are less likely to make mistakes about the reliability of their field than Grok is, especially, and ChatGPT for that matter, especially because I bet you I could convince ChatGPT right now to say that actually zircon dating is super unreliable. I bet you I could convince it to do that just by prompting it the right way.
Yeah, you could also convince a person to think the same way. I mean, that's why you're doing this live right now, is you're trying to convince millions of people that the Bible is
yes, so we should trust the scientists whose field of expertise it is, because they're the people most likely to be correct about whatever their field of expertise is.
I would say I trust the scientists if they're building something tangible, like a rocket or something along that matter.
You're talking about engineers.
Okay, there's still a lot of physics and stuff that go into building a rocket.
Right, but so you're telling me that you trust engineers, not scientists?
Kind of. If they build something
okay.
that is...
It just sounds like you're doing science denial, which, more power to you, I guess.
It's not science denial. It's like there's a lot of theories that scientists put out there that are not provable theories. Like,
so if I Googled science denial, do you think I would find examples of people saying, oh, it's just a theory? Do you think I would find that?
So
I bet I would.
Huh? So you're saying science is never wrong. Trust the science because it's never wrong. 100%.
Never said that.
Okay. Well, then why would you trust something that's not 100%?
You trust things that are not 100% all the time.
I do, but it's...
That's just called appropriating your trust proportionally to the evidence.
Yeah, okay.
So if science is wrong 2% of the time, then you should trust science 98% of the time.
Well, it's like even the Bible. It's like I believe the Bible, but I'm still skeptical of the Bible. I weigh the evidence of what I've read in the Bible, and that's how I determine whether it's true or not. There's a lot of stuff that science does that there is no way to test what they're saying, and then it's like...
Do you think that's really true?
What's that?
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
On what?
Of science saying something that you can't really test.
Well, evolution, I think, is a big one, right?
You think that we can't test evolution?
We teach evolution as it's a fact, and it's just a theory, and the tests that they give us...
So we're doing science denial again.
They're subjective.
What's subjective?
If you took all the evidence that you had for evolution and took it into a court, the majority of that evidence would be subjective. So it's like you
On what grounds? Can you give me an example?
Well, to say something come from nothing.
That's
right?
not what evolution says. That's not part of evolution at all.
So evolution starts in abiogenesis.
Nope, that's
right?
not evolution either.
Well, that's the beginning of it. There's evolution.
Evolution is a description of what happens to life when there's competition and finite resources. That's what evolution is. So evolution says nothing about the origins of life. Completely unrelated.
Well, it's a process that comes, like there's cosmic, and then there's the prebiotic soup, and then there's evolution that comes up. And you're talking about the small changes from certain like pressures that are put on the population at that time that cause mutations to...
Yeah, evolution, as understood by scientists, is like the thing that happens to life.
So why is the environmental pressures today only causing cancer and disease and death?
Environmental pressures are causing evolution. I don't know what you're talking about. We are seeing, like, evolution is actively happening. Now, it's not happening perhaps as quickly to humans as it used to, because we are immune to a lot of environmental pressures now. It's no longer the case that if you can't hunt for food that you die, because maybe you're good at spreadsheets, so you can buy food, right? But in the natural world, we see, like, this is how Darwin discovered this idea. He went and he saw evolution between two very closely related things. He witnessed that you have two birds that are basically identical, but because of the different environments, they now have different beaks. That's like the whole thing. And by the way, we've also done laboratory experiments for evolution where you can see the organisms changing over time.
Well, there's, when you're seeing the things where you're seeing the organisms change over time, that could be like something that's already in in that population of species. You're just selecting it, right?
It wasn't being selected artificially. This was the best example is the E. coli experiment. They basically took, I think it was like 30,000 generations of E. coli, and they put them in different environments. They put like these bacteria in like different different places with like different kinds of chemicals. I think one of them had like citric acid in it, in like the little, those little like round discs that like the bacteria go in. I'm not a biologist, but anyway, what they found is that after a certain number of generations, the bacteria was now able to do a kind of digestion, petri dish, thank you, a kind of metabolite. They were able to metabolize citric acid in a particular way that they weren't able to do before. Agar plate, thank you. And so like that was just a new feature that these E. coli bacteria didn't have.
So they changed from a bacteria to something else.
They became a different kind of bacteria.
But they were still a bacteria.
Yeah, and we're still mammals, even though we changed from being, more primitive hominids to humans.
The Smithsonian in Washington.
Your mic is really quiet, by the way. Can you speak a little
louder?
louder?
I went to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and at the Smithsonian there, they had a video playing that said we all evolved from a mouse underneath of that was underground, and then when the dinosaurs went extinct, we all evolved from a mouse. So
yeah. I don't think it was actually a mouse, but it was like a small mammal.
Like
yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, but we've never witnessed in evolution like something change into something else, like change from a bacteria into like something with legs and walking around mammal.
So fortunately, we don't expect to predict that. That's not a prediction of evolution that we would expect to see that happen on human timescales.
Well, are you familiar with Dr. James Ford?
Oh, yeah, James Torr, the guy that got obliterated by Dave, whatever his last name is.
Oh, he did a live debate with him, huh?
Yeah, and James Torr got obliterated. Like there was nothing left afterwards.
Well, I'll have to watch that video because the last one I watched,
yeah,
he's put out a paper on the evolutionary or abiogenesis and how the time is.
But that's that doesn't have to do with evolution, right?
I don't understand that. Like it all seems connected to me. But if he's like putting out there a thing, like showing a paper showing how time is kind of evolution's enemy, I don't like.
How is time evolution's enemy when time is
there's certain
what helps evolution work?
Because there's certain processes that have to take place pretty fast for things to actually work. It's not like
to evolve.
to evolve.
Evolution is a slow process. Can you give me examples of things that have to be fast in order for it to work?
Well, like take us for example. I mean, if just only men evolved without a woman there and the reproductive
sex predates humans.
How does sex predate humans?
You know that animals have different sexes too, right?
Yeah, but if you had a man
in fact,
and a woman
microorganisms have different sexes.
Okay.
The evolution of like a binary of like a sexual binary is very, very old.
So if those two things didn't evolve at exactly the same time, how does the evolutionary process keep going forward?
Have you looked into the evolution of a sexual binary?
Is that like a bacteria? I mean, the idea that you could evolve.
Wait, to be clear, have you looked into this?
The evolutionary binary.
Or no, of sexual binaries, like that there's two different sexes, one that injects DNA into the other, and then the other one kind of like, nurtures, or not necessarily nurtures, but kind of like grows the new organism. Is this this is a thing? Like this is so well known, by the way. Like this is so well researched. I shouldn't say so well known. It's so well researched that it has like a hugely long Wikipedia page.
I thought you said Wikipedia couldn't be trusted.
I never said that. Wikipedia is great because it provides its sources.
You see you criticizing a guy for using
Grok. Yeah.
The last guy you were talking to was using Siri, and you're complaining that.
Yeah, that's the exact same thing. Siri is like a shitty Wikipedia. Or Alexa, rather.
Wikipedia.
Sorry?
Wikipedia is Wikipedia. It should be all the same.
Yeah, Wikipedia is not a shitty Wikipedia.
I don't understand, I guess.
That's fine.
So
So Wikipedia is like you should look at the sources that it provides for the claims that it makes, but like it will give you the sources for all of the claims, and a lot of these things are written by experts. So like it's generally pretty reliable. This isn't 2010 anymore. So you could just go read this Wikipedia page. It would give you a pretty good understanding, a pretty good top level understanding of the evolution of sexual reproduction. And it's very, very old.
It's very old. I just don't think it could evolve. That's the problem. I think there's
before you come to that conclusion, you should learn what the claim is, because then maybe you change your mind. Because if you don't understand what the current consensus is on how sex can evolve, then how can you say that you don't think it can evolve if you don't even know what the current consensus is?
The problem is I was an atheist for like 35 years.
I'm sure.
And then it was like, I watched hours and hours. Now, they're always changing the goalpost of where stuff is at, but I watched hours of debates with like Aaron Ra and
I'm sure.
Just Aaron Ra debate with other creationists and stuff. And it just doesn't seem to me like any of the data, like the data that they're producing, it seems like all that stuff could be made up. You don't know who's writing it, who's publishing it.
Oh, we're doing science denial again. I didn't know that we were going back to that.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's science denial or not. It's the truth.
It should make you feel bad. It should.
You're not watching. There's plenty of things that's made me doubt science, right? On a number of things. But
do you think that Jesus rose from the dead?
I do think he rose from the dead.
Do you doubt that?
I have at times, yeah, but I believe there's plenty of evidence to support it.
Okay, so the fact that you are more like that you believe Jesus rose from the dead is more likely, you have a stronger belief in that than you do in the entirety of science, is like a huge red flag.
That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because
it just means that you're not critically thinking, right?
You know what really brought me to like start questioning like the evolutionary process?
Sure, tell me.
So my wife went to school. She's got a doctorate.
Mm-hmm. In what, if you don't mind me asking?
Pharmacology.
Cool.
So anyways, when she was going through like her anthropology classes and stuff, and they were talking about the missing link and all that stuff, that they said they've never found the missing link. So
sorry, was this like 1930?
It was a while ago, yeah. Yeah.
Was this 1930?
No, it was 2010.
Okay, so then I just don't believe you. Or she went to a Bible school.
Nope, she didn't go to a Bible school.
Then I don't believe you that this is a thing that happened. That some professor said, oh yeah, we haven't found the missing link. Like nobody talks about that. Nobody talks like that. By the way, it sounds like what you're about to do is what I'm about to show you. So give me just a second, okay?
Okay.
Are we about to do this?
So you're mocking me now? Is that what you're doing?
So are you saying that we don't know what's between this and this?
Yeah.
Okay. But we do know what's between that and that. So maybe you actually mean that we don't know what's between this and this, right?
I don't think you do know what's in between those two things.
Okay, but we do know what's between it. Maybe you mean that we don't know what's between these two things.
So when I went to the Smithsonian, like they had all the primates listed up on a thing in like an evolutionary process, but they were all animals that were still living today.
Right? Then you didn't read the Smithsonian chart, right? Or you're lying to me.
Okay, you don't
because
think
we know what humans descend from. Humans descend from Homo habilis, and Homo habilis descend from Homo erectus, and Homo erectus descend from Australopithecus. We know these things. None of those things are still alive today.
Why aren't they still alive?
They went extinct.
The same with the dinosaurs?
Not at the same time.
So, what do you think caused the dinosaurs to get so large?
The environment. The environment allowed it. There was a lot more vegetation. So like you could have really, really, really big vegetarian animals.
Okay, so would that mean that at that time that the land was probably more land than water?
Not necessarily.
Anyway.
It sounds like, so do you have any evidence that the Earth is 6,000 years old or thereabouts?
Well, I would just say off the oldest writings.
The oldest writing is around 8,500 years old.
But they're using, is that like a calendar that goes back that far on
No,
there?
we don't have any calendars that go back more than like, I don't know, 2,500 years or so.
Well, I'll have to do some more reading on that.
It sounds like you should. And don't read on Answers in Genesis because, you know, they're not scientists. You should read what scientists say in scientific journals.
So there's people in there that are astrophysicists. They
Jason
believe
Lyle?
in, yeah. They
Jason
believe
Lyle, when was the last time he published a paper in an astrophysics journal?
Well, Dr. James Torp published one, and you won't read it. So what does it matter?
I'm sorry. When was the last time James Torp published an article in a, you know, organic chemistry journal or something like this, or like a evolutionary biology journal?
He just published one like 2 months ago.
Are you talking? There was a recent one that he published. Let me make sure. Oh no, this is the wrong guy, right? We want this guy. So are you? Let's sort by year. So here's one that has to do with antibiotics.
No.
Oh wait, he didn't even write that. Why is this? He's not even an author here. So what's the name of the article? Do you know what it's called? You can find it for me if you want. Yeah, that's fine. I can't hear you when you're off the app, but. It looks like James Torr actually does a lot of like chemistry stuff. Like he talks a lot about like silicon and like graphene and stuff like that, which seems like cool science.
Maybe it's on this. Gosh, I saved it. So I'm reading it.
So sorry, what was the article name?
I'm looking for.
Okay. Do 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 do. Welcome back. What's the article name?
Oh, I can't find it right now. I sent it.
Where'd you send it? Where'd you send it?
Well, I sent it to... I just got to close... I'd have to close out.
What? Huh. Let's look up James Tour evolution article. Let's just Google this.
It's thermodynamic limitations of life or something like that.
Okay, one sec. Thermodynamic limitations on the natural emergence of long chain molecules, implications for origins of life. This one?
Yeah.
All right, what journal is this in? This was published in Biocosmos. What's Biocosmos? Let's see. Biocosmos, focusing on new and non-standard perspectives on the origin and evolution of life. It aims to disseminate new knowledge and foster a global exchange of ideas moving beyond the standard neo-Darwinian paradigm. The journal was first published in November 2021 and has since published multiple volumes and issues with the goal of fast publication after acceptance. So let's go look at what kinds of things they, oh no. Oh no. Is this not a serious journal? It doesn't even have an impact factor. It doesn't have an impact factor? It's not listed in journal repositories? It doesn't sound like it's a serious journal. It sounds like a fabricated journal for the purpose of publishing bad science.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you should look.
Well,
you should look
the
into
impact factor, I know, but I have looked into it, and
you've looked into the journal?
Well, I've been reading the article that he wrote in there. As far as like the discrediting of article to smear somebody, like,
well, no, why didn't he publish it in like a legit journal?
What's that?
Why didn't he publish it in like a legit journal? Why did he publish it in like a rag?
I don't know that it's not a legit.
I can assure you that it is. It doesn't even have an impact factor.
So you're saying that only, I just, like, part of that is it's like, I don't trust some of the stuff that like is published in the journals just based off of stuff.
So then why are you sending me a journal that you trust?
So are you saying if he breaks down the science and goes through it and goes through the process, because it's not in a journal that you prefer, that it's not?
What I'm saying is that their standards are low.
I mean, I know, but you're a smart person. You're good at math, and you could go through and break down like the procedures that he's doing to determine whether what he's saying is credible.
I'm not a biologist or a chemist, so I probably wouldn't be suited to do that. I would bet you $100 dues that I could Google. Well, actually, maybe not, because it's a recent article. It came out just a few months ago. I would bet you that there are blog posts already dismantling this paper.
So
I would believe that that's probably the case.
So you don't think James Tour is a credible person, even though
I think that he's a talented chemist when it comes to like inorganic chemistry, which I guess is his specialty. Because if you go look at his actual publications in like real journals, it's all like inorganic chemistry stuff. And I don't think that he knows at all what he's talking about when it comes to, origins of life.
I don't know. I think he's a pretty talented guy. He's got like 1,000 patents, and he's run multiple.
Patents don't really mean anything. And like I said, he's a talented and organic chemist.
Like, you're trying to discredit like everything, and it's like, I don't think that journals mean everything either.
Then
right?
why'd you offer me one?
Because that's what you were requesting, and the first thing.
So I was requesting. So to be clear, like if there's a statement like
to discredit it, right?
If there's a statement like, oh, we have proof that like abiogenesis can't happen, here it's in this paper, that should be submitted to like the top journals in the field. right?
Well, it's like you could go on to creation science stuff, and they have plenty of evidence showing that man and dinosaur lived at the same time.
Do you believe it?
I do believe a lot
Okay,
of it.
and why
yeah.
do you believe it?
Because I believe they got sufficient evidence of man, like they've got
Of what kind?
footprints.
Like what's the evidence that you that is compelling
Well, you
to
can
you?
go back into like the old cathedrals, and they've drawn like as early as up to the 15th century, they drew like long-tailed, long-necked dinosaurs. In the Book of Job.
So to be clear, your evidence is like drawings?
There's drawings, there's carvings in stone, there's
have we ever found the bones of a dinosaur in the same layer as the bones of a human?
Yeah, they have.
We have. Okay.
You can Google. So they found human
have
artifacts.
they? So if that's the case, can you tell me where I can see that?
So I just watched the guy the other day that like there's a hammer, there's human artifacts that they found in like 50 million.
Wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like what I'm asking for at all. I'm asking for the bones of a human in the same layer as the bones of a dinosaur. Why are we talking about a hammer that was surrounded by quickly accumulating calcification?
So they found a chicken and a human fossils together in the same formation.
We have chicken and human bones together, yeah. They're just not fossilized because they're new.
I know, but you've never found a chicken and a human bone fossilized together, so does that mean that chickens and...
I actually don't know if that's true, by the way.
But they have...
So did you just assert that? Like, do you have any evidence that that's the case? Oh, okay, hold on. So to be clear, I guess the chickens that we think of as humans, or that we think of as chickens, are actually like a recent thing. Like the domesticated chickens just didn't exist for a while. So you could like look at like other types of fowl, and you could see that like there's you could probably see that there's like fossilized. You don't even need fossilized stuff. You could just go look at like the bones in like caves and stuff, and you'll see chicken bones as well. But look, so it sounds like I asked you if human and dinosaur bones have ever been found together, and it sounds like your answer is no.
I don't know if it's human and dinosaur bones, but it's footprints. Dinosaur footprints and human footprints have found in the same strata.
Okay, so let's just Google human dinosaur footprints found in the same layer.
As human footprints.
So there's a famous site for this claim called the Paluxy River in Glen Rose, Texas, but apparently it's been debunked. So let's look it up. So here, let's look it up. We're on Wikipedia. Should we just read really quick?
Yeah, let's read it.
So it's best known for numerous dinosaur footprints found in its bed near Glen Rose at the Dinosaur Valley State Park. The Paluxy River became famous for controversy in the early 1930s when locals found dinosaur and supposed human footprints in the same rock layer in the Glen Rose Formation, which were widely publicized as evidence against the geological timescale and in favor of young Earth creationism. However, these anachronistic human footprints have been determined to be elongated dinosaur tracks, river scour marks, and hoaxes.
Oh, so who published that?
Let's go look at the source. So there's a publication called Elongate Dinosaur Tracks, published by or written by Glenn J. Kuban in 1989. I guess this is a chapter in a book in Dinosaur Tracks and Traces. There's another source called the Texas Dinosaur Man Track, and so here this is like more of like just a website, so we don't need to rely on that. And then there's a fourth source, which is from this is from the National Center of Science Education. So the National Center of Science Education seems like it's a pretty good seems like it should be a pretty good source for scientific evidence. And what do they say? What do they say about the Paluxy? It is necessary to correctly analyze these tracks, blah, 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 blah. Most of the dinosaur prints that have been found there are genuine. Many show clear, large ridges of mud squished up all around the footprints. Scientists confirm, blah, 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 blah. And then I want to hear the thing. Yeah, so according to Bier, this is why John Green and Dr. Jack Walper had to re-excavate some human footprints in 1976, which had been excavated only a few years earlier for the creationist film Footprints in Stone. Among the prints that have been removed from the site are half a dozen detailed human-like footprints and 2 large saber-toothed cat tracks. These are frequently mentioned in creationist works. However, upon later examination, they have all turned out to be probable or actual hoaxes. Flood geologist Clifford Burdick has described these prints, and however you say that name, and Whitcomb and Morris show picture of them in order to prove that humans and dinosaurs lived together at the same time. Burdick owns one man track and 1 cat track. The rest have been sent to the Museum of Columbia Union College in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Burdick's prints could easily have been carved, and those at Columbia Union College definitely were. So it seems like we have evidence that these are hoaxes, like actual hoaxes. And you could read this entire article if you wanted. This is from the National Center of Science Education.
But it's like, who's the guy that's going and doing the critiquing, saying it's a hoax? Why would he, what's his bias, right? I just feel like there's plenty of other evidences out there that they're trying to claim are all hoaxes. Like every time one of these pops up, there's a guy that writes a thing that it's a hoax, right? And for some reason...
Well, if it is a hoax, then somebody will do that, yeah.
So the paintings, like people that drew paintings of dinosaurs, and if they only seen the bones, why did they have good detail on the skin? And then when they found a mummified dinosaur in a cave...
I'm sorry, which dinosaur? Or which paintings?
So there's paintings that are in the old churches in England. There's carvings in Utah, in the caves and stuff in Utah. There's drawings of dinosaurs in caves and stuff inside of.
So here's one that I found. Maybe this is the one that you're talking about. Hold on, let me pull it up. This is in an Austrian museum called the Sewer Slide of Saul. This is the thing that this is probably the thing that you're referring to. We can translate this page really quick.
I don't think I've seen that one.
No, you have. The thing is you've seen it super zoomed in. Hold on, let me pull it. Let me make it bigger.
No, the one wasn't a big old painting like that I saw.
Okay, so did you see? What did it happen to be? This one?
I think I have seen that one.
That's the same painting, just super zoomed in.
Okay.
That's this. See those little guys back there? That's what you're looking at.
So those camels?
It's really hard to tell, isn't it? Because it's tiny.
Then there's a carving from 4000 BC that the Chinese carved. A ruby.
All right, let's go look that up. 4000 BC, Chinese carving, dinosaurs. Okay.
Well, it's 2000 BC.
2000 BC. Ancient dinosaur depictions. Let's go to Genesis Park. So, are you on genesispark.com as well?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm looking for the ancient Chinese carvings. Is it this, maybe?
There's one of a Triceratops.
Triceratops. Let's look. Are you referring to maybe this? Oh God, I don't want to go to Wikipedia. I don't want to go to Facebook. Are you referring to this?
No, it's
okay, because that's not Chinese.
Yeah, no, it's it's an emerald. It's a full 3D that's not carved.
Do you know what it's called? Because I can't find what you're referring to. Like an emerald thing, like. Are you referring to this, maybe?
No, but I mean the Chinese do have they
have dragons, yeah.
Yeah,
that's like a whole thing.
I know, but it's even on the Chinese calendar they do talk about dragons. The Bible talks about dragons. The Bible talks about Leviathan.
Yeah, when you find giant lizard head skulls, it's not so unreasonable to think that dragons existed.
Yeah, but they drew the skin in some of those.
Yeah, and they got them wrong, by the way, because things like T-Rexes had feathers, at least as juniors.
So I watched an article about that thing, and they said that the reason why this was actually, it wasn't an article. It was a lady on Joe Rogan's podcast. She was an evolutionist, And she said the reason that come up is because when they were excavating the bones, they ate chicken, and then when they took them in for the testing, they tested that they had chicken DNA. You can watch it. It's on Joe Rogan's
I don't know what you're
podcast.
referring to. I don't watch Joe
It's
Rogan
the
for a
woman-
source of correct information.
Okay, so the woman that he had on there is the one that's in charge of. She's the one that's been bringing back
Why are you telling me this? What does this have to do with what we were talking about?
Because you're trying to say that the T-Rexes were chickens.
No,
and
I'm not
she's-
trying to say that T-Rexes were chickens. I'm trying to say that they had feathers.
Well, you're trying to say they're big chickens or big birds.
No, I'm not trying to say that at all.
Okay.
They had feathers. Lots of dinosaurs had feathers.
But but there is birds that are fossilized and their feathers fossilized. So did a T-Rex's feathers fossilize when they fossilized?
So the way that you can tell if an animal has feathers is you can look at like particular markings like in their bones and stuff sometimes. I'm not an archaeologist or paleontologist rather. I'm just believing what the paleontologists tell me. So if they say that there's feathers, I'm likely to believe them more likely than I'm going to believe something on Joe Rogan.
I know, but that's the
Oh, and apparently there have been dinosaurs found with fossilized feathers. Yeah, here's a good example. Thank you, random commenter, for pointing this out to me. Here's a good example of a dinosaur fossilized with feathers.
It looks like a bird.
It's a dinosaur. It's called an Archaeopteryx. It lived like, what, 150 million years ago? I'm sure it can go find more.
Do you think that thing could fly?
Maybe it could glide. I don't know. Again, not a paleontologist.
The world would have been different if it would have supported larger creatures. It could have had thicker, better air density, and it could have flew.
Okay. What does that have to do with anything?
Because it's a bird. That's what I'm saying. Bird
What do you
fossil.
I mean, it's a dinosaur. Like, it definitely has like the things that make it a
Have
dinosaur.
they found a fossilized T-Rex with feathers?
No, it's actually not believed that T-Rexes had feathers into adulthood. If they had feathers, it was believed that they lost them by the time that they were an adolescent. And the reason why they suspect this is because they do have fossilized evidence of other animals that are closely related to T-Rexes that have that same pattern.
So that's...
I mean, like, if you find a chicken, and then you find the bones of something that looks a lot like a chicken, but you don't see any feathers, it's reasonable to think that the thing that had the bones also probably had feathers. That's reasonable, right?
I don't know.
Okay. It sounds like you've done a lot of reading into Answers in Genesis and creationist websites and just haven't looked a lot into actual scientists. So I would suggest that you actually look into actual scientists, read the actual scientific literature, or if you're not capable of doing that, which I understand it's hard to do, I would suggest that you just go look at what the scientists say, what they write in their blog posts or whatever, because they will be the most likely to provide you correct information about these things. But like, look, I mean, we've been all over the place. I think that it's probably about time that we end it here. Any final words that you'd like to offer before I end it? Oh, he just left. Okay. That was something. All right, we have some super chats to read. I shouldn't have kept him on that long, but he just kept, like, I really need to be more linear. I need to, y'all, chat, you guys need to keep me more linear. So, like, if you're on YouTube or TikTok and, like, we're getting off topic, spam, like, just spam, like, be linear or something, because I shouldn't have let him run the conversation. No, I'm not ending the stream. I'm just ending the conversation. Yeah, so spam that shit, because look, I am 100% easily distractible, so I need somebody to keep me on, okay? All right, let's read some super chats, and we'll bring up another guest. From Prot Tabula with the $5, evolution is a religion as well. I'll give you a good run on voice if you want. You could, I guess, but you'd have to join on TikTok, because I'm not taking guests on YouTube right now. But thank you for the $5, even if it's hate $5. I appreciate that. Duke of Shaska, thank you for the €2. Brondo got what plants crave. Brondo did have what plants crave. Zachary with the $2. We, the Sumerians, wrote Gilgamesh in 2100 BC. Yes, that would be really coincidental, really great if they would have just done that. Lord of Gonzo, thank you for the super chat. It would be cool if folks understood that people were writing stuff as pictographs and all tens of thousands of years before books and Kindles. Yeah, right? Duke of Shaska with the 10 euros. Don't know about them Olmecs, but we have a diary of a middle manager at the Great Pyramid construction project dated year after 13th cattle count, i.e. 27th year of Khufu's reign, 2500 something BC. Yeah, the thing is we have an indirect date, but it's not tied to a calendar. So we would need, but the Olmec thing actually has like the calendar date on it, and we know how that calendar worked. Virtuous Path, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. They say evolution is visible in my career in pest control. Bed bugs have become pesticide resistant because of careless application by homeowners. Yeah, that's true. It's like you can see evolution everywhere. Chase sends $20. Thank you so much, Chase. W Chase in the chat, guys. Tor's paper was written in a religious journal. It was not published in a quality, rigorously peer-reviewed publication. It was a very weak paper wherein Tor and his cohorts routinely messed up basic ideas of the field. That's basically my expectation. Unfortunately, I can't really refute that because I just don't know a lot about chemistry and biology. Like if somebody did this in like for cosmology, for like Big Bang stuff, I could read that and probably go through it and find mistakes myself. But I'm just not well read in chemistry and biology, right? Peter Hegwood sends $2. I honestly hate the I used to be an atheist line. Yeah, me too, because they never were. Or if they were atheists just because like they were just mad, right? We have $2 from Boogie the Cat. Thank you, Boogie. My 2-year-old drew evidence of dinosaur people. Yeah, true. And from somebody who's, I want to say that that's Korean, but I can't tell. But thank you for the $20. I know you appreciate the stream, and I appreciate you. We have a few more super chats to go through, and then we'll bring up another guest, I promise. The Physicist sends $20 as well. Just stumbled upon your channel and find it quite intriguing. Perhaps I'm missing something, but are your callers usually this unprepared regarding the topics they wish to discuss? I'm probably being naive, but it's shocking. Yes. And look, like I end up having to Google a lot of things when people are talking about biology and paleontology, just because these are not fields that I know a lot about. I could probably like go do some like pre-reading, and I could go, put together like some notes, and maybe I'll do that when I have some time this weekend. But the point is like I'm happy to go read some stuff on stream with people if we're trying to figure out what's true or what's not. But this is to say, generally, I have a pretty high standard for scientific journals. Like we should expect scientific journals to be, to be taken seriously by scientists in the field. And if it's not, if it doesn't have an impact factor, for example, then we should be very, very skeptical. Discordant Rhymes with the 7 Canuck bucks. Thank you so much, man. I like to imagine we'd have much less delusion to deal with if comparative religion classes were mandatory in school. Comparative religions is such a good class. I took a comparative religions class in undergrad, freshman year, I think, and it was really, really good. Like I learned a lot. It was a really cool class. Lord of Gonzo with the $5. I felt every eye in the chat roll when you brought up Joe Rogan. Yeah. Chip Payette, thank you for the $10. For the therapy or alcohol I'm sure you need for after calls like this, Blitz, rock hard for dog. Yeah. One day dream at a time with the $5. You often let people go off tangents once you pressure them on something, like biogenesis or bacteria evolution to monkeys, then dinosaur stuff. Yeah, I do. And I guess because usually like maybe I'm just too nice. Maybe I should just not do that. You guys should just keep me linear. Just spam in the chat if I'm letting them get off topic, and I'll try to fix it. Jonathan sent $5. Thoughts on the Dem Repub military members coming forward about UAPs? They talk about gravitational bubbles surrounding the craft for propulsion. I won't believe it till I see the actual scientific evidence for it. Gentleman Viking with the $2. The Triceratops was from an ICR article. Yeah, I believe that. Holmessen with the $1. Thank you for the donation. And from the fellow with the Korean name whose name I can't read, thank you for the $50. I appreciate that a lot. All right, let's bring up another guest. Now, Oscar has been waiting very patiently, and he was supposed to be brought on earlier, but I didn't because, he didn't show up. So, Oscar, you're here now. So, Oscar,
hello?
How old do you think the Earth is?
If I say 6,000, will you keep me on?
Oh, no, never mind. I kicked you because you said 4.5 billion, didn't you?
No. Please, let me...
Nope. All right, let's talk to Red is the Right Way. Red, how's it going? Red?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. How about you, man?
I'm doing all right.
Yep.
How old do you think the Earth is?
Well, okay, so your argument, right? Like, I'm an agnostic, really, but no, actually, no, I'm not an agnostic. I recently came into Christianity. That's wrong. I adopted Orthodoxy. Doesn't really matter what denomination, really, but like, I just have it's like a flawed argument that you have, honestly, because, well, the church really doesn't say. I mean, are you saying the church, like
I'm not saying the church. I'm saying your church. So there are some people whose churches lie to them about the age of the earth.
Before I okay, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. So let me just clarify this. Are you saying the Bible said that the earth is like 6,000 years old, or the church?
Didn't say the Bible said that the earth is 6,000 years old.
Okay, yeah, because I was about to say, because scholars made that claim and it was completely wrong, obviously, right? But let me just like...
So reading is important. I didn't say...
I think it was like Archbishop
it was Usher. Yeah, so how old do you think the earth is?
Well, I definitely don't think it's 4.5 billion years old, definitely, but not also like 6,000 years old. But can I clarify this? I want to debate on more about theology itself. Is that okay with you?
That is not on topic. We can talk about the topic, which is like the age of the earth or perhaps the age of the universe, or we can save it for another day.
Can we at least arrive, like, can the topic go into theology at least, or do we have to like strictly talk about this only?
This is the topic. The topic is how long things have been around, like the earth or the universe. If you want to talk about the age of the universe instead of the age of the earth, that's fine. But that is the topic. Well, so if you don't want to talk about that topic, then you'll have to come back another day.
Oh, so there are other topics because I'm like new to this stream.
I'm happy to talk. I do atheism, theism debates once a week or so.
Oh, really?
So you can come back for that if you want.
Yeah. So before I like respectfully, I've seen your profile picture and you are in maths. Like, you have PhD in math, right?
I have a PhD in physics.
Am I mistaken? Oh, physics. I'm learning engineering and like physics. I really like it a lot. Like, it's pretty cool. I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
Oh, good luck.
Pretty fun. Like, just recently, I've actually went to like mathematical analysis, or what you call calculus, right? So it's like pretty hard for me. But like, I also want to debate about theology because
that'll have to be a different time.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm pivoting. Yeah.
It's fine. Thanks for being here, Red. I know he wants to talk theology. He is a baby Christian, so it might not be so easy for him, but we can do it. But it'll just have to be another day. Pip-Boy Wasteland with the $5. I used to be an atheist. I'm still an atheist, but I used to be one too. Yeah, true. Me too. Carrie Yost sends $10. Thank you, Carrie. All of Hieronymus Bosch's paintings are absolutely biologically accurate nonfiction. Hold on. I got to pull these up. Hieronymus Bosch. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I know these paintings. I've actually seen this in person. Wait, is this the one that I've seen in person? I think I've seen this one in person. This is an example of Hieronymus Bosch, by the way. This guy. These are all. Oh, I probably cannot show that actually because there's nudity. Oops. But yeah. Definitely historically and biologically accurate, not fiction. All right, let's talk to Lumberjackpot. Lumberjackpot, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing all right, but I take it from your profile picture that you probably are not a theist.
No, I'm not. I'm an atheist, and I do believe the universe is 13.8 billion years old. I'm not here for contention. I actually was wondering if you could elaborate on something from an earlier discussion with Brando.
Briefly.
Yeah, no problem, and I'll concede my time after that. You were talking about impact factor when it came to journals. Could you elaborate on what that is and also other things to look for to deduce if a journal is valid and has appropriate standards?
Yeah, so impact factor is it's unfortunate that it exists, but essentially it's a measure of like the average number of citations that an article in that journal gets. It's not exactly that, but it's similar to it. And so essentially high impact factor just means that generally the articles that end up in those journals are high quality and hence they get cited frequently. And so now this does vary significantly from field to field. For example, in mathematics, a high impact factor is something like 2.5, whereas in physics, a high impact factor is like 8. So it does vary field to field, but not even having an impact factor at all is really questionable because it means that they're just not publishing information about how frequently their papers are getting cited, which makes me think that they're just not getting cited by anyone outside of their own journal.
Sure. And so if something has like a low impact factor of 2, which is high in that field, is that probably because of how specialized maybe that field is?
So the reason why is so what I found is, so I've published in both physics and mathematics. I don't know how it is in other fields like chemistry or biology or anything, but in mathematics, it takes a very, very long time for papers to get published. Like the peer review process is very long, like it could take up to a year. And papers also tend to be much, much longer. And so there are just less papers that are written. And so because there are less mathematics papers that are written in a particular subfield, you're going to end up with fewer citations overall. So you will end up with lower impact factors in mathematics journals. On the other hand, at least in physics, a lot of papers are very short. Papers get written very, very quickly, and papers tend to cite a lot of other papers just for references. And so you end up with really high impact factors like, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what you could do is, if you're trying to evaluate a paper or a journal, what you can do is you can check you can first find the impact factor for that journal for whatever field it is, and then just Google what's the best journal in this field, and then find the impact factor of that journal. And that'll at least give you a sense, like if the best journal has an impact factor of 8, that's roughly what it is in physics, and then the journal that you're looking at has an impact factor of 0.2, that should be a red flag.
Okay. Well, I think that answers my question. If you have another panel up here soon that goes over more physics, I want to talk to you about the B theory of time. I don't know enough about it.
Next week.
You explain it well. So thank you for your time.
Of course. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so to be clear, this is something that is useful information for people to know, how to evaluate the quality of journals, because you can't know every journal, but what you can do is you can look at how frequently articles in those journals are being published. All right, let's talk to Sorina, or Sorin? I think it's Sorin Alexandru. There we go. I can read. Sorin, how's it going? I don't think he's actually asleep because he clicked join, but that's very funny. Let's talk to Bert. Bert? Bert?
Hey, man.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
How old do you think the Earth is, Bert?
The Earth?
Yeah, how old do you think the Earth is?
Well, I'm not sure. Do you know? With 100% certainty?
I have good reason to think that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old or so.
But you don't have 100% certainty?
I don't make that claim. But it seems like you're kind of deflecting. Like, how old do you think the Earth is? You just don't know. You just are completely agnostic.
Scientists. I know scientists think it's 4.5 billion.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that that's more or less likely to be true?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but you don't know either. You don't have 100% certainty, do you?
I don't take knowledge to require 100% certainty.
Oh, well, isn't that the whole thing of us thinking Jesus resurrected as well?
I don't follow the question.
You don't realize... Wait, repeat what you just said.
I don't take it that you need 100% certainty in order to say that you have knowledge of something.
Exactly. That's kind of like the whole having faith behind Jesus' resurrection.
No, it's not related to faith. But look, my point is that
well,
I think that we have a high degree of certainty.
Hold up, define faith.
No, hold up yourself.
Exactly.
I think that we have a high degree of certainty.
Because it's the same thing.
We have a high degree of certainty that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. You can say 99% with however many nines you want. We have a high degree of certainty that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. So it's reasonable to say that we know the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Do you disagree?
I already told you I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm just pointing to you that you don't have 100% certainty either.
Never claimed it.
Well, we never claimed to have 100% certainty that Jesus resurrected.
Okay. So it seems like we don't. It seems like we agree that there's a high degree of certainty that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. So there's not much to talk about then, huh?
Well, I don't think that the church lies to us about science. I don't think churches believe that.
Maybe your church didn't. Some churches definitely do say that the Earth is 6,000 years old, and that's a lie.
How many percentage of churches do you think say that?
I don't know, but I've talked with a lot of people who have made that claim.
On here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you, it's probably a very low percentage of churches
Great.
believe that.
I'm glad. I hope it is. So look,
because the Bible is, you realize it's allegorical and historical. Right?
That's sure. Maybe it is. To be clear, it sounds like we don't disagree.
100%.
It sounds
says
like
40 authors.
It sounds like we don't disagree. So I'm going to let you go, Bert. But thank you so much for being here.
I beat you.
Did he beat me? Did he beat me, y'all? All right, let's talk to Don. Don, how's it going?
It's going fine.
I'm glad to hear it. Don, how old do you think the Earth is?
32 years old.
You think the Earth is 32 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Okay, can you repeat the question again, please?
How old do you think the Earth is?
I think 3,000 years about science.
I think that there just might be too much of a language barrier. By the way, I don't know how I missed this. Hear me out. How's it going?
Hi, sir. I'm good.
How old do you think the Earth is? Hear me out.
I really don't know, but can I ask you this question?
So you don't know? Do you have a guess?
Yes. Well, I'm in a way would want to say 2,000 years. I don't know, but I really don't know.
Okay, why'd you come up then?
I'm sorry?
Why'd you come up then?
Oh, well, it's to ask you why the question. Why you're asking this question?
By the way, before we move on to our next guest, I should remind you guys, if you want access to the stickers on YouTube or on TikTok, you have to become a member or a subscriber or a super fan or whatever it's called on TikTok these days. It's like $4 or $5 a month. You get access to some stickers, and we'll be adding more stickers over time, but they are kind of fun. Also, if you want access to my debate notes, which I really need to extend my, I really need to work on my Young Earth debate notes and make them a little bit more extended. And I'll work on that over the weekend. If you want access to my debate notes, which have a lot on Flat Earth, a lot on theism, a bit on Young Earth, and a lot on MAGA, be a member on Patreon or on either of the YouTube channels. It's like $4 or $5 a month. Consider doing it. It's a cool way to support me and to get access to some new notes and emojis. Let me read some super chats and then we'll move on. G Mills sent a goat trophy for 1,000 joules, and I appreciate that. Appreciate that significantly. Nathan sent $5. Some churches do say that. My principal said that God made Earth with dinosaur fossils to test our faith. Yeah, that's exactly the issue, right? That's exactly the issue. All right, let's talk to Juan. Man, I'm hungry.
Hello.
Juan, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How old do you think the Earth is, Juan?
Not 100% sure.
Nobody is. But that's okay.
Yeah.
But what's your estimate?
Is what science says, but you claim here of Earth yawn being 6,000. I think is possible.
Possible or plausible?
Plausible.
Okay, but it's also possible that a teacup is orbiting Jupiter. That doesn't mean that it's true or that it's plausible. Right?
Well, okay, so a teacup orbiting Jupiter, yeah, that's possible.
It's possible, but
yeah,
just because it's possible doesn't mean it's plausible. We don't have to take seriously ideas just because they're possible.
Right. So you're saying there we have two options here. Either the Earth is 4.5 billion years or 6,000.
Well, I mean, it could be 10,000, but the point is we have very good reason to think that it's 4.5 billion years old, and very I can't think of any good reasons to think that it's 6 or 10,000 years old.
Well, I think we do.
Okay, so what are those good reasons?
So if you have first of all, if there's a creator, God, who creates everything, and he lives outside of space and time and matter, and he's not confined to the laws of time and space and matter because he's outside of
Mm-hmm.
you know in the universe, it is possible for the Earth to be 6,000 years.
Look, it's possible for there to be a teacup orbiting Jupiter, but that's just because it's possible doesn't mean that it's plausible. So I'm asking, what is the good reason to believe that that's the case?
So you're saying what is the good reason to believe that is 6,000 years?
Yeah.
What some people claim to, it's the passage in second Peter's that they to the Lord is like 1,000 years. So I think that's why some people.
Right. So is that because it's in the Bible? Is that a good reason? Is that like good evidence, strong evidence, if you will?
If you believe it's true.
Yeah, but then you would need evidence to believe it's true, right?
So you're saying that it will be. Some people may believe that, yes, just out of belief.
Okay, right. So do you think that we should form beliefs based off of evidence and reasoning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then what's the evidence or the reasoning that gets us to the position where it's reasonable to believe that the Earth is young?
Yeah, I personally don't think that there's is 6,000 years, but I think it's some people do, and I think it's
okay.
It's not outside of my realm of possibilities.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Juan. It's like people can't read. I guess reading is hard. Oh. It's weird. PBC, how's it going? Oh, Andy left. Let's talk to Tom. Tomothy, how's it going?
Hi, you okay?
Yeah. Tom, how old do you think the Earth is?
Okay, just Google how old human civilization is.
Are you going to answer the question? I will Google it for you, but only if you answer the question first.
Agrees that.
So I will happily Google that for you, but only if you answer the question first. How old do you think the Earth is?
Maybe 1 million years old.
Okay, sure. Now you want me to Google how old is human civilization?
Yeah.
Okay, let's find out. Do we trust the AI overview? Do we want to use the AI overview? I guess we could just use Wikipedia. Let's look at ancient history. So cradles of civilization. Let me show you what I'm looking at. We'll just use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is fine. So we have ancient history. Let's actually go to timelines of ancient history, perhaps. So we have, okay, we need to go a little bit earlier, perhaps. So late fourth millennium BC is when we have cuneiform writing in Sumer and Egyptian hieroglyphs. But we have to go even earlier. We have to go to prehistory if we want to see the beginning of civilization, if you will. So in fact, this seems like we're saying around 12,000 years ago, we started to have agriculture. And then what are we seeing? We're seeing the, I know it's, yeah, so cereal crop cultivation and animal domestication had occurred in Mesopotamia by at least 8,500 BC. And metalworking was first used in the creation of copper tools and ornaments around 6,400 BC. We could go look for like the earliest known inhabited, like permanent inhabited site, and that's called Göbekli Tepe, if I remember correctly. Göbekli Tepe is around 9,500 BC to around 8,000 BC. This was a settlement. It's like a place where people lived. So I would say that civilization is perhaps around 10 to 12,000 years old.
It's just I found it very interesting that some people equate the same as the Earth, how old the Earth is, with the same as how old human civilization, because was the few saying 6,000 years old. and ancient Mesopotamia.
Well, yeah, that's when Mesopotamia started writing.
So, and it's very strange where proposed, Adam and Eve and all that, and the Garden of Eden and all that, and the handy gardens of Babylon.
So, Tom, why do you think the Earth is only 1 million years old?
Oh, well.
You know that like the scientific consensus is that it's like 4.5 billion years old, right?
Okay, fair enough.
Goodbye, Tom. Let's talk to Cody. I don't know what's going on today with guests. All right, looks like Cody's not joining. Talk to L. L, how's it going?
Hello, how's it going?
Doing all right. L, how old do you think the Earth is?
I truly believe it's 6,000 years old.
Okay, and why so?
So I believe in the absolute truth of the Bible, and I also believe in the possibility that the Earth was created with age by God. So because I believe
It's kind of tricky, right?
Well, we know it must be true because if God created the Earth without age, how would it sustain itself? It would just die. You can't just create things without age.
I think most things are created without age.
Well, I mean, in
fact, arguably, literally everything is created without age. So, look, I take it to mean when you say created with age, you mean created with the appearance of age?
No, if God is beyond time, in my view, then he is beyond time. He can create things with the ability to sustain themselves.
Yeah, and they would still be 0 years old on the day that they were created.
Yeah, but using your science in like carbon dating, it would still have the age where you'd be like, oh, well, this is 1 million years
old. Yes, it would appear to be older. That's what I meant.
Yes, it would appear to be older.
Yeah, so you're saying that God can create things as if they were like to look like they're older, even though they're not older, right?
I think that would, I mean, that's sort of what I'm saying.
If that's the case, why is your God such a deceitful bastard?
What is that? What do you mean by deceitful? In what way is he deceitful?
He planted evidence for us to find that would lead us to the wrong conclusion. Do you worship Loki?
He didn't plant evidence. That's not deceit. It's necessary for the Earth to live. That's how.
Sorry, how are zircon crystals necessary for the Earth to live?
And also,
you should please answer the question.
Something to you.
Please answer the question.
What was the question? Repeat that.
How are zircon crystals necessary for Earth to live?
Zircon crystals.
Yeah.
And what about zircon crystals shows age?
Beyond the amount of lead that's present inside of them.
I can't answer that because I know nothing about that. But
okay, so this is the way that we figured out the age of the Earth. We used uranium lead dating in zircon crystals, and uranium lead dating in zircon crystals is like these are like little tiny crystals that you can just find on the ground. You can find them on meteorites too. They have some amount of uranium in them, and they typically have some amount of lead in them as well. And the ratio of uranium to lead tells you how long ago that zircon crystal formed. And so the question then is, why did God need to put extra lead into the zircon crystals in order to sustain life on Earth? Like, how is that relevant at all? Why would he do that?
Well, also, when God created Earth, it says that he created Earth has something good. He created Earth with beauty. So the fact that zircon crystals even exist is part of his beautiful creation.
Zircon crystals are not like particularly beautiful. They're like little.
Yeah, but they have
rocks.
a purpose.
What does that have to do with beauty?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, if you're just going to pivot away from this weird deception that your God did.
Well, I don't think it's deception, and also,
what do you think planting evidence is that leads you to the wrong conclusion?
I believe the deceiver is the devil, and God.
So did the devil put the lead in the zircon crystals?
Well, that obviously I can't answer that, but let me say something. I believe that the devil reigns over Earth under God's sovereignty.
I'm sure. Look, this is like a really problematic thing, right? So if I was a what's the analogy that I typically use? Yeah, so let's say that I'm a murderer, right? Let's say I'm a murderer, and I go and I murder someone, right? And then at the scene of the crime, I don't know what murderers do, but like I do stuff so that it looks like the person was murdered a year ago and not yesterday, right? Suppose that I do that. Would that be deceptive if I like manipulate the evidence to make it look like it happened a year ago instead of yesterday?
I don't think this analogy has anything to do with it.
Well, you should answer the question regardless. Is it deceptive to do that?
Yes, it's deceptive.
So it's deceptive to make things appear older than they actually are.
So in your argument, you're saying God does exist, but he's deceptive, and you're agreeing with that?
The belief that you're proposing to me requires that God is deceptive. Now, I don't think that God exists, and I think that the universe is 4.5 billion years old. But if you think that God created the earth with an appearance of age, then yeah, the God that you believe in is a deceiver.
Okay. Do you mind if we talk about evolution for a little bit?
Not until you can either acknowledge that the God you believe in is a deceiver, or say, yeah, that's a good point, I don't have an answer for it.
Well,
Either
I
one's
would say
fine.
I would agree. I don't have an answer for that, but I don't believe that God is a deceiver because he created us, and I believe that my own existence is so in my own mind is so limited compared to God that I can't understand everything, and so I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. But
okay,
I don't understand everything because God is he's so great, his mind is so powerful that a lot of things are just going to be beyond my understanding. That's just naturally the relationship between man and God. That's how it's going to be.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. So could it be that God is deceiving you for reasons you don't understand?
I wouldn't call it deceiving. That's the thing.
No,
If
I'm
I don't
asking,
understand
could
it,
God be like about anything? Could God be deceiving you about anything in a way for reasons that you don't understand?
well, God actually does in the Bible. It says he hardens the heart of men so that they have no chance of receiving the gospel
Can you
because
answer my question?
Well, I'm getting to it. No, he can't be.
So God cannot deceive you, even if it's for a greater purpose.
Well, God can deceive me, but he does not deceive me.
How do you know that he's not deceiving you?
I trust. I have faith. I know.
So
I know of his existence.
Yeah, but the faith that you have could come from a deceptive book. So how can you rely on any of this to try to come to true conclusions about the world?
I know that God is a good God because
he could be deceiving you for a good reason.
Well, even then, I don't think so because I know he's good. I know he's good. There's no
and look,
there's no reason for my existence.
Sometimes it's
so how
good
could he
to
not
deceive
be good?
someone. Look, so you can be good and also be a deceiver. For example, if I was a German citizen during the Holocaust and like the Nazis walk up and ask me, "Do you have any Jews in your house?" I would be like, "No, of course I don't," even though I'm hiding Anne Frank in the attic. Like I would deceive them and still be a good person, right? So it's possible that God could be deceiving you for some greater reason. Can you know that? Can you know that he's not?
What greater reason is there?
For reasons you don't understand.
Is it possible that God is deceiving you? Is it possible the devil's deceiving you for reasons you don't understand?
I don't think that God exists.
Is it possible? Okay, well,
but you do, and under your worldview, it seems like you're committed to the belief that God could be deceiving you for greater purposes.
I'm not committed to the belief of any deceit.
Could God do anything for greater purposes that appears bad for humans?
I believe God is just. So if something he does for humans, he does it out of a just reason. God does kill people for just reasons. People, if you read the Old Testament,
hold on, and this is a little off topic, but it's relevant for the point. So like, do you think that God gives people cancer for a reason?
I think that the reason people have cancer is because the world is corrupted. That is death is the judgment of mankind because we sinned against God.
Okay, but like, is God not in control of such things?
God is in control.
Okay, so he is in control of people getting cancer, like skin cancer from the sun, right?
He has control over it, but he's not responsible for it. We are responsible because we sinned against him.
He could make the sun just not give us cancer.
Yeah, he's in control, but he's not responsible.
He could just like snap his fingers and the sun wouldn't give us cancer anymore, right?
He could just snap our fingers and we wouldn't exist, which would be
Can you answer the question, please?
Yes, I'm saying yes.
So he could just snap his fingers and then we wouldn't have cancer. So in some sense, God is giving us cancer by not doing that. Now the point is that
he's not giving us cancer. We're responsible for. We're responsible for the brokenness of the world. Did God give the
dinosaurs cancer because the dinosaurs had cancer too? And we weren't responsible for that. Too.
What are you saying? Can you repeat that?
Dinosaurs had cancer. We have dinosaur bones with cancer on them.
Okay.
And so they existed before we did. So like, why would our sins later affect the cancer that they had earlier?
Well, our sins affect the entire world, which means the entire world became correct.
Are they retrocausal? Do they affect the past too?
Yeah, before sin existed, there was, and first of all, I don't believe there was death before sin.
Okay, so you don't think that there was, so wait a minute. Oh, right, that's right. You think that the Earth is 6,000 years old, so you don't think dinosaurs existed before people?
I do think dinosaurs existed with people.
Okay. Right. Anyway, yeah, a little bit off topic. So look, all I'm saying is that if God is unknowable, if God is so, if there are so many things about God that we just can't understand, then it seems so super reasonable that of course God could be deceiving you for reasons you don't understand.
God doesn't deceive because he controls everything. There's
he could be lying to you about the things that he does. There's no deceiving in his
vocabulary. He creates reality. He can't lie about anything. Everything is in his.
So he can't. There's something he can't do. Sounds like he's not all powerful.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. Okay. I mean, he can do everything, but he does not. That's not his attributes. His attributes.
He could be lying to you. He just chooses not to, is what you're telling me?
Yes.
But how can you know if he's lying to you or not?
How can you know if he's lying to you or not?
Mm-hmm. That was a question for you.
I can't.
Okay, so you can't know that he's not lying to you.
I can't know for sure, but I can believe.
Okay, so you just believe that he's not, even though you have no reason to believe that. Okay, fine. You said that you wanted to ask me a question about evolution.
You also believe that he's not.
I don't think that he exists at all.
Yeah, but how do you know he isn't deceiving you?
I don't think that he exists.
How do you know that you aren't being deceived, that the world is, whatever you say, 4 billion years old?
Well, I don't think that there's a grand deceiver that's deceiving me, because I don't think that grand deceiver exists.
Okay, so where do you think everything came from then?
When you say everything, do you mean like the universe, or do you mean like stuff, or do you mean life? What do you mean?
Existence.
Yeah. So my general view is that is that there was never nothing.
So you believe in infinite creation?
That's one way to interpret it. There's another way to interpret it that has a finite past, but that might go over your head.
Okay, that's fine. Don't tell me it then. So I just think also, I mean, I'm going to bring this up randomly.
Well, hold on. So you asked about where everything came from. Presumably you had a point to asking that, or?
Well, I just think you're not going to side with me unless you give your life to God and understand and believe in God. But let me say, I don't understand evolution at all, because how is it possible for matter to create something? Like,
well,
how is it possible?
That doesn't have anything to do with evolution.
Okay, sorry, I mispronounced that. How is it possible for an animal to develop something completely new when we've never seen that before?
We have seen it before
in our lives. And can you give an example of that?
Yeah, so
where it benefits the animal.
Yeah. There was an experiment conducted in these. It was run for like 30 years. I think it was started in the 70s, maybe in the 80s. You have E. coli, which is a type of bacteria, and basically the experimenters put them in the like these agar plates, like the little petri dishes, in with different kinds of like substances in the petri dishes. And after like 30,000 generations of this E. coli bacteria, one of the E. coli strains, one of the samples of the E. coli in one of the petri dishes that was in a petri dish with citric acid developed the ability to digest citric acid. So it was able to, it basically gained a new food source as a result of this process.
And what changed biologically?
It got a new gene, or
what does that mean?
A gene changed or something like
what
this.
What changed? What do you mean?
Mutations. These are mutations that cause this.
Yeah, mutation
Like genetic
has
mutations.
never. No, I don't believe that. Mutation has never
this
in history.
happened in a laboratory.
There's never been
like
mutation.
obviously true.
There's never been a mutation in the history of the world that has benefited something. Mutation only makes something worse.
So to be clear, this happened in a laboratory. You can check this yourself.
I definitely will.
Okay, it's very famous. Look up the E. coli evolution experiment. I can actually just show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It's the E. coli long-term evolution experiment. Here, I'll just pull it. It has a Wikipedia page. You can read that. Here it is. Just take a look at this. Like this is remarkable that this happened, and it was conducted. It took place over, I guess, over 29 years or something like this. They had 73,000 generations. And one of the things that you can look up is you can look up the CIT plus evolves in LTEE. And so this is a section that you would want to read, because this talks about the evolution of this this new ability to like digest citric acid or whatever it is.
Here's the problem. I think what people call evolution, I call adaptation.
Okay, so you're just using the word wrong?
Well, I think you guys misunderstand what it means to adapt.
Okay, well, if what you mean by adaptation is what scientists mean by evolution, then you agree that evolution is real.
No. What I believe by adaptation is what you guys believe has evolution, and then you take it a step further, saying that adaptation is capable of this when it's not.
What do you think adaptation is?
I don't know if I can offer a sound definition, but I could say that it is basically it's something that me and you can do. We are capable of adaptation.
Then we're not talking about the same thing then. So the adaptation that happens via natural selection, that kind of adaptation happens at the genetic level. It doesn't happen at the personality level.
I'm not talking about personality level.
We can't change our genes.
Yeah, we can't change our genes. That's correct.
So then you and I can't do that. We can't do this adaptation that you're talking about.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so the adaptation that I'm talking about happens at the genetic level. Do you think that we can change our genes to adapt, you and me?
I don't think so. No, I think we can.
We agree that adaptation, the kind that people who study evolution are talking about, which happens at the genetic level, that is not something that you and I can do.
Yes, I agree that. My definition of adaptation is adapting within your body's capabilities.
Okay, that's not what evolution is, though.
Okay. Well, I think that's what some people see examples of that, and they mistake it as evolution. Whether that's, and I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying some people definitely do that.
Okay. But how does this mean that evolution isn't real?
Well, can I ask you something? That doesn't mean evolution. I'll answer that question. No, it doesn't.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I'm not an evolution expert because the second I started studying it, I just could not wrap my head around it being true, and so I just threw it out the window, type of thing. Can you tell me exactly how it's possible for something to develop legs over billions of years that did not have legs?
Yeah, I mean, so start with something with fins, say a fish, for example. Fish have fins. There are genes that control the growth of bones, that control how long the bones grow for, and the longer the bones grow for, the longer they get, that control the shape of the ends of the fins. And so all you have to do is just change those genes, and those genes can change randomly. They can change via mutation. There's a whole lot of different mutative processes, and I can't list them all. But all you have to do is just change those genes, and you start to see that those bones start to look, or those fins start to look a lot more like legs. In fact, there was actually a study that was conducted fairly recently. I think it was on zebrafish. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Yeah, I think that this was like 4 years ago or something like this. Is this the one that I'm thinking of? Yeah. Yeah, okay, this is it. So this is a paper that was, it was written like 4 years ago. They were studying zebrafish, which is a type of fish, right? And so here's what it's called: latent developmental potential to form limb-like skeletal structures in zebrafish. And so what they talk about is there are two specific genes, mutations in, I guess there's this gene, the WASL gene, I guess, and VAV2 gene. Or these are regulators, which I guess are a type of gene. It basically causes the fin to become a lot more limb-like. So, for example, we have middle fin bones middle fin bones doing new things. We have distal elements forming in the fins. So, like, this is an example of the kind of thing that can happen, right? That just a few genetic changes are enough to cause these fins to start look a little bit more like legs.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it's a thing.
So
it's
what
not
was
my
the
area
purpose?
of expertise, but I've heard about this and I've read this before.
Why would that animal start to develop legs? What's the purpose? If it's living life fine, it has a population.
Maybe it wasn't living life fine, right?
Maybe. What do you mean by?
I mean,
maybe?
like, look. The reason why evolution happens generally is because there are external pressures.
External pressure. So you're saying, do you think humans aren't going to evolve anymore because we don't have any external pressures?
So, again, not a biologist, so I'm speculating here, but I suspect that because a lot of the we can deal with a lot of the external pressures nowadays, I suspect that human evolution is significantly different now than it would have been, say, 10,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago.
So do you think it was only just 10,000 years ago humans were less intelligent, sort of dumb creatures?
No, this isn't an intelligence thing. This is an availability of resources thing. So prior to about 12,000 years ago, there really wasn't much available space to like do agriculture, right? And that, coupled with the fact that the kinds of things that we would just find to eat were like abundant, we had really no issues surviving, so we didn't need to settle down and start growing grains. But after the last glaciation event, when the glaciers retreated, it became a lot more useful to start doing agriculture. So like it was the same intelligence. It's just a matter of what's the most efficient way to like survive in a society, and agricultural societies became a lot more effective. So we settled down and started doing that.
Okay, so can you explain to me why there are different species?
Why there are different species?
Yeah, why?
If you accumulate enough changes over time, then you're no longer compatible with the things that you used to be. That's all.
And that started billions of years ago.
Yep.
One thing changed into another thing, and those two things weren't compatible anymore.
It could be one thing that branched off into two things. Yeah.
Okay, and so how come evolution has gone differently for different things?
Because branching means that the two things split off from each other.
Yeah, but they're still.
So then they're not the same anymore.
Why are humans the only rational beings? Why are every other beings stupid?
It may very well just be the case that, A, they're not all stupid, but it may very well be the case that intelligence is just a rare solution to common problems. Or it could be the case that intelligence is a common solution to a rare problem, right? And so it just might not be the case that evolving intelligence is useful for a lot of different organisms, but it happened to be useful for us. But for what it's worth, there are a lot of intelligent organisms, like dolphins and orcas and whales generally are very, very intelligent. And generally things that live in societies are generally more intelligent than things that don't.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go, but I have one more thing to talk to you about before I leave.
Sure.
Would you agree? You said you believe that the world or the universe or whatever, the existence has existed forever, or like it doesn't have a beginning, right?
I think that it's possible that there is a first moment of time. I don't think that means that there was nothing before that.
Okay. I mean, that tells me nothing, but
So this is just to say I'm not convinced that the universe has existed eternally into the past. I'm also not convinced that the other thing is true. I'm agnostic about it.
Okay. Do you think that my idea of the Earth having a creator, a mind, a design is more logical than yours?
I think it's
Would you
far
agree with
less
that?
logical.
Far less logical, and why is
Yeah.
that?
Because it impugns things that we have no evidence for, and so it's a belief without evidence. And I think that beliefs without evidence are not particularly reasonable.
And your belief that the first of all, I believe there is evidence, but I'm not going to get into that because that's a different rabbit hole. But your belief that the world or the universe is with ongoing infinite existence, and that it never had a zero substance, it maybe had a beginning of time, you said. You think that makes more sense to you?
To be clear, I don't have a rigid belief about what was going on, about like whether the universe had a beginning or whether it didn't. I don't have a rigid belief about that. Like I said, I'm agnostic about that. So yes, it is more reasonable to be agnostic about things that we don't have solid evidence for.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just know that from looking at the sky and the trees and the world around. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but I just know from looking at creation.
It's not a good point to make. You shouldn't say it.
Well, why is that?
Because looking at the trees doesn't actually get you to the conclusion that the Earth was designed.
Well, seeing a design gets me to a conclusion.
Okay, now how did you determine that it was how did you determine that it was designed?
How did I determine that the Earth was designed?
Yeah.
Because I see creation has something that's created.
Okay,
There's
how
no
do you
other
know that it was
reason.
created?
Because that's the only way existence could come about. It makes
Okay,
way
how do
more
you know?
sense.
I offered you two alternatives.
I know
it could have
because
always
it makes.
existed, or it could have.
I
had
know
a,
because
or
it makes way more
or
sense
we could
for
have had
something.
a first moment of time without there ever having been nothing. It just seems like you're based off of like vibes.
No, it makes way more sense for something.
On what grounds? Well, what grounds does it make more sense?
Because when have you ever seen an iPhone make itself?
When have you ever seen a crystal
anything
make itself? We see crystals make themselves all the time.
Yeah, crystals don't make their own matter though.
Okay, nobody claimed that it did. The point is we see structure, crystals, form on their own in natural environments.
Okay, so you think the Earth is like a crystal, and the structure of it formed on its own?
We know how the Earth formed. It formed gravitationally via basically a whole bunch of rocks and dust coming together. We know how this happens, and it doesn't require God to make the Earth.
Rocks and dust came together?
Roughly, yeah.
How?
So you're asking where did the rocks come from, or how they formed rocks? Because the way that they formed rocks was basically the same way that the Earth formed.
And then how did the rocks that formed those rocks form?
Well, eventually you just get down to just like particles of stuff, and those formed via Big Bang or via stellar nucleosynthesis, and before that via Big Bang nucleosynthesis.
Okay, so you do believe
we have
in the Big Bang
understandings of all of this. Yeah, the Big Bang just isn't the beginning. Like, look, it just seems like that we have naturalistic explanations for basically all of these things, and you're just saying, nah, but actually it makes more sense if God made it. It just doesn't seem that reasonable. Like, if you want to believe it, by all means, but you're not being reasonable.
I'm just gonna say, I believe that there is nothing in this world that comes from nothing, and so how can I believe that everything came from nothing?
I don't think anything came from nothing.
Okay, then where did everything come from? Something?
I don't think that there ever was nothing.
You don't think there ever was nothing? It sounds to me like you believe in a creator.
No.
So you don't think you're not really answering my question.
I've answered your question explicitly. I don't think that there ever was nothing. So
Okay,
if there never was nothing, then clearly nothing ever created nothing.
So there was something, but you don't know where that something came from.
Yeah.
You don't know where that something came from.
Well, it could have always existed, or alternatively, time just may not have existed. In which case, it doesn't make sense to ask what came before because there's no before.
Okay, first thing you said it could have all existed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that means literally nothing.
No, it means a lot.
there's you know logically that nothing just could have always existed. Like,
oh, is that true? Can God have always existed?
Yes, God could have always
okay,
existed.
so something could have always existed, just not the things that I say, only the things that you say?
Yes. Well.
Oh, okay, I got it. Right. If
That sounds
only I had
extreme,
considered
but-
that you're wrong, I'm right.
That's a good point. That sounds extreme, but listen, I just, my logical brain agrees with the thought that there's a creator beyond that there's
I
something.
agree that your brain says that. The question is whether it's logical. That's the thing in contention.
I don't know. I don't know what you're saying.
That's okay. Elle, I gotta end the live because I want to go get some coffee and eat some lunch, but thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate
Thanks
it.
for talking to me. Thanks for
Take
talking to me.
care.
Bye.
All right, y'all, we're going to read some super chats and then end the live, okay? So let's do that. So One Dream at a Time sends $5. Thank you so much, One Day. One Daydream, I'm sorry. Jamaican sounding guy was trying to ask you, why are you focused on the question, do you think the Earth is 6,000 years old? It's worth talking about. Oh, yeah, okay, sure, that's fair. Basically, because people believe it and people want it to be taught in schools. There was like a whole court battle over this like 20 years ago of like trying to teach intelligent design in schools. And that's like really, really bad. Because, you know, we shouldn't be teaching religious dogma as if it's science. So yeah, generally my view is that, yeah, like we should be fighting back against people rejecting scientific consensus. Like that's a good thing to do. And G-Mills sent a goat trophy for 1,000 jewels. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, we have $2 from Boogie the Cat. The dinosaurs needed to be punished for their sins. Yep, it was the dinosaurs. It was the dinosaurs sinning all over the place. Ryan Cooper, thank you for the $2. Imagine being afraid of literal fairy tales. Yeah. Germs. For current evolution, you could also use the new form of life in Hiroshima that eats radioactive stuff. Didn't happen in a lab. That's neat. I haven't heard about that. I'll jot that down on my notes that if you guys want access to, are accessible if you're a member on YouTube or if you are a Patreon patron. I'll put that in my to be sorted. And let's just make a little thing and then I'll fill it in later. Evolution of radioactivity eating stuff in Hiroshima. Cool. Yeah, it's a really good point. And then we have Math Josh. Thank you for the $5. I need you to adapt and grow whiskers right meow, Blitz. Sorry, they don't look good when I do. Eric Slightly sends $10. Thank you so much, Eric. Is it possible for a B-theory universe to exist eternally but still have had a first and last moment? Absolutely. Yep. Bankable. Thank you for the $2, Bankable. Allegedly, Ian sent me here. Y'all should collab. We collab all the time. In fact, we have a show together every Sunday that we've been running for almost a year. And $5 from Nathan Irvine. Irvine? I don't want to know, so God. Yeah, that's how these things often go. Thank you, Nathan. Now, I'm just going to double check, make sure I didn't miss any cash apps or anything. We did get some cash apps and things like this. From Grimlock for the $10. This was like an hour ago, but I missed it. For don't forget your daily waterboarding. Let me hydrate really quick. All right. So that's all we got, I think. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you were watching on TikTok, on YouTube, wherever you're watching, I appreciate you greatly. And I will see you guys probably not tomorrow. In fact, it might not even be until next Monday because I'm going out of town for the holidays. But I might... I actually don't think I'm making any appearances on Sunday. So I will see you guys next Monday. If I don't see you until then, maybe I will. I might just hop into Ian's live stream or something. But until then, have a good Thanksgiving if you're American. Otherwise, just have a good rest of your week. And I'll see you guys next time.